This is the Board of Chiropractic Examiners. This meeting is being held by teleconference under the Governor's Executive Order N-29-20. The date is December 11th, 2020, and the time is 9:16 a.m. Some public participant instructions. The members of the public that are listening and would like to provide public comment by telephone will be limited to 2 minutes, unless in the discretion of the board, circumstances require a longer period. Members of the public will not be permitted to yield their allotted time to other members of the public to make comments. Again, the board's paramount responsibility is to protect the health, welfare, and safety of the public through licensure, education, and enforcement in chiropractic care. Please be aware that this meeting is being audio recorded. Please turn off or silence all cell phones or any background noise or mute if on your WebEx. And we will now take roll call of the board. Mr. Ruffino, would you please call the roll?
Yes, Mr. President, and good morning, everyone. Dr. Paris.
Present.
Dr. McLean. Dr. McLean.
I know she's there. I saw her.
Yeah, we'll
Dr.
circle
McLean,
back.
if you can unmute yourself using your mic, using your computer, not your phone. You'll need to unmute the phone and then unmute the mic, the computer.
I can circle back to her. Frank Ruffino, present. Dr. Adams. Dr. Adams.
Present.
Dr. Azzolino.
Present.
And Dr. Dan.
Present.
Dr. McLean.
I will try unmuting her.
Present.
Dr. McLean? Okay.
Present.
Thank you, Dr. McLean. Mr. President, you do have a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Ruffino. Okay. Moving on to, and is Honorable Judge Washington on with us? Or are we still waiting to?
We are still waiting for him to make his way back.
Okay, and when he comes on, we will do an introduction. Our ALJ for today is Honorable Judge Ed Washington. And we'll welcome him when he gets onto the call. So our moving to agenda item number 2, that is the update, review, discussion, and possible action on proposed regulation for delegation authority to the Assistant Executive Officer. And the purpose of this item was to amend ongoing rulemaking action implementing additional changes to the text regarding the delegation authority to the Assistant Executive Officer. Robert, do you want to add to that?
Mr. President, may I interrupt for a quick second?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. Moderator, my raise hand feature disappeared, so I don't know if it's something that I did. Otherwise, if we need to speak, if without that feature, I would have to interrupt. Do you?
I do have it activated. I will try and reactivate it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Or is anybody out? Does everybody have the raise hand feature?
Frank, at the bottom of your screen, if you click the screen with your mouse, there's a little smiley face in a circle. And if you click on that, there's an option to raise your hand. Do you see that?
Well, I see. I had it before, so I have participants and then I have chat.
Okay, because down at the bottom of my screen, I have the mute button, the stop video button, and then there's the little face icon for attendees, and then next to it there's a smiley face. Do you have that down at the bottom of your screen?
I don't have the smiley face. I have.
Yeah, this is the moderator. Depends on the device that you're using. Most of the time, if you're on a computer, it will appear at the bottom of your participant panel.
Well, the only reason I'm asking if I need to, if I'm unable to raise my hand, then I have to interrupt. So I don't want to hold the meeting up, but just so that you know, Mr. President, if I don't get the feature, because for somehow it disappeared, I had it before. So as long as you know that I'm not trying to be rude, or that would be my only way to get your attention.
And as a board member, Frank, that's not a problem. So
Okay.
it's no different than if we were, you know, in a hotel meeting.
Oh,
room
I got an
somewhere.
idea. I put my hands up. What about it, Mr. President? If I put my hands up, and then that means I want to talk. All right. Thank you.
If there's any consolation, I don't have one either.
Either of you feel free to jump in anytime. It won't be considered rude or inappropriate ever. So it's fine.
Thank you,
Or
Mr.
wait.
President.
Absolutely.
Okay, so regarding this agenda item and the regulations, since the board did vote to approve the language that we had submitted at a previous meeting, we've had to make some changes. We worked with Clay Jackson in DCA's legal office, their regulation office, and made some changes to clean up and clarify the language. And we're bringing it back. There also in this, just so you know, there's language from another reg package that amends the same section. And so we incorporated those changes into this language so that, you know, if it gets enacted, it'll include the language we intend to make in that other package. So, excuse me. So I'm going to turn it over to Kristen Walker, our enforcement manager, to go through the changes.
Thank you. Robert succinctly summarized kind of what we're looking to do here. The board has been working on the regulation for the delegation of authority for the assistant executive officer, and what that regulation is doing is clarifying that the executive officer's designee is the assistant executive officer. So hopefully that'll provide clarity for our procedures. And the board has already approved quite a bit of changes to this regulation package. So when you're looking at the proposed language, what we're considering today is everything that's highlighted, because all of the other track changes that you see have already been reviewed by the board, and we just need approval for these additional substantive changes that are being made. As you go through the sections, they're pretty straightforward for you know, Section 306 and 389. It's just some changes that were suggested to us by legal and we agree with. We're bringing them to you for approval. And then when you get into the citation sections, and specifically 390.4 and 390.5, if you recall from the October meeting, we were bringing in some procedural changes for our citation program on how we collect fines, and then how and what the deadline would be for the informal conference. Those two regulations are already included in this package. So what we're proposing to do is to put those changes that you've already approved into this package instead of pursuing some separate package, because then we're going to have some consistency issues with trying to pursue two overlapping regs. So that's why we've included them for you here today, and we're hoping that you would approve this proposed language for the delegation of authority to the assistant executive officer package, to include the procedural changes to our citation program, so that we can pursue this all as one package. And we also have Clay Jackson on the line. If you have any questions about this, or if you have any questions that I could answer, I'll go ahead and entertain those now.
Any questions from the board? Hearing none, Mr. Jackson, is there anything you'd like to add? Anything you'd like to add to Kristen's overview?
Hi, this is Clay Jackson. Kristen did a perfect job, so I have nothing to add to that.
Okay, thank you. for a motion, and there is specific motion language. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the changes.
I'll second that motion.
Dr. Dane, I'm sorry, could you read the specific language that's in the memo?
So,
For the record, so that for the public
That's
can
right.
hear exactly what the motion is.
yeah, except for I don't have that in front of me. Sorry.
Oh, I'll go ahead and I'll go ahead and read it. Or do you have it, Dr. Paris?
Yeah. So the motion would read, move to approve the proposed regulatory text for Title 16 CCR Section 306, 389, 390, 390.3, 390.4, and 390.5, and direct staff to submit the text to the Director of Consumer Affairs and the Business, Consumer Services, and Housing Agency for review. And if no adverse comments are received, authorize the executive officer to take all steps necessary to amend the preceding rulemaking package, initiate a rulemaking process, make any non-substantive technical or grammatical changes to the package, and set the matter for hearing if necessary.
Thank you.
Yeah, that.
That was a
So
long one.
Dr. McLean, do you continue to second that?
Yes, I will second that.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any discussion? Any discussion, any board members? Hearing none, is there any public comment?
This is the moderator. I've opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to make a public comment, please click on the Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen. Enter "I would like to make a comment" into the Ask field and submit that to all panelists. We will pause for a brief moment to allow time for requests to come in.
Thank you.
Seeing no requests at this time, would you like me to close the Q&A panel?
Please, thank you.
It is closed.
Hearing no comment, Mr. Ruffino, can you please call for the vote?
Yes. On the motion, Dr. Paris,
Yes.
Dr. McLean,
Yes.
Rufino, yes. Dr. Adams,
Yes.
Dr. Azzolino,
Yes.
Dr. Dan.
Yes.
Mr. President, motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. Ruffino. Moving on to agenda item number 3, it's our hearing regarding the petition for reinstatement of revoked license for a Nostra in Vadusen. And do we have, is our Honorable Judge Washington on, or ALJ?
This is the moderator. Judge Washington is back. Judge Washington, would you like to unmute your microphone and we'll see if the audio has resolved itself?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you this time. Perfect.
Welcome, Judge Washington. Thank you for being with us today.
All right, thank you very much. Sorry for the technical difficulties, but they seem to be unavoidable these days.
True. that is very true.
So I rebooted my system and I seem to be able to connect now. I'm inclined to see if I can connect to my camera as well, but I'm not sure where we are in the process. Have you started the petition hearings, or where exactly are we?
We're just starting right now.
Okay.
And we are at agenda item 3 on our agenda, and we were going to turn it over to you for the hearing regarding the petition for reinstatement of revoked license for Mr. Nosrat and Vadusen.
All right, sounds good.
And this is the moderator. I have promoted Mr. Gadusi's attorney to a panelist so he can communicate with you as well.
Okay, and before we go any further, I want to be sure, because we don't use WebEx very often at all, that we have a court reporter that is present. Is there a court reporter here?
One moment, and I will check with staff. I did not have a name. They very well could be in our attendee panel. One moment.
All right.
Tammy, if you're on the line, can you confirm that we have a court reporter?
Hi, Robert. We requested one, and as of yesterday, they didn't give me the name. I only got Judge Washington's name yesterday. So
typically, we don't coordinate we just request a hearing and a judge, and then the court reporter is part of that. So yeah, there should be one.
This is the moderator. Let me try this. I do have the hand raise feature on. If you are a court reporter in our attendee list, can you please raise your hand? We'll see if this works for a moment. I also have the chat feature open. If you can see the little chat bubble on your screen, you could send me a message that way as well. Not seeing any hand raises at the time. Oh, I have found our court reporter. One moment. Lisa Berryhill. Lisa, I promoted you to a panelist. Can we do a microphone check? I see you're unmuted. We can hear you. It sounds like you're in a tunnel, though. Are you far away from your microphone, perhaps?
I don't hear her at all.
I'm wondering if what I hear is an echo.
I think it is, Shelley.
I think so, too. Judge Washington, will the court reporter need to be able to speak or only to be able to hear?
Hello?
We can hear you.
Is that better?
That's much better.
Okay. I've been trying to figure out how to get on, so I don't know if I missed anything or.
Nope, we are just getting started. You're right on time. We were just looking to find our court reporter so we could begin. So I'm going to hand this back over to Judge Washington.
And I just need people to introduce themselves before they speak, because I can't really tell on my computer who's talking.
Okay.
Thank you. Oh, I see that.
Yeah, and we'll do our best. Sometimes it's difficult when you have multiple people talking, obviously, to tell who's speaking. But if everyone could remember to say who was speaking before they speak, that would be appreciated. Because obviously, Ms. Berryhill won't be able to look at her computer screen at the same time that she is taking down everything that's being stated. What is your CSR number, Ms. Berryhill?
7926.
Thank you very much, and good morning.
Good morning.
And one moment.
And this is the moderator or the judge? I'm sorry.
This is the judge.
Oh, hi, Judge. Okay, I see now.
And moderator, good morning. What is the name of the moderator? I assume you're still there.
Lisa Berryhill is her name. This is the moderator.
I'm the court reporter. Yeah.
Right. I'm trying to
moderator Shelley Jones. Shelley Jones.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. And Ms. Berryhill, if you're not needing to speak, if you could leave your microphone muted, that will knock down some of the background noise in the meeting.
Okay. Thank you, I will.
All right. And I see we have Mr. Is it Nahore?
Nehore, yes, correct, Your Honor.
All right. Good morning.
Morning.
And is your client also available, or will he be testifying today?
No, Your Honor. I informed the panel earlier that at 5:45 this morning, I received a call from my client's wife that my client has had a heart attack, and currently he's in the hospital. And I requested to see if we can have this matter continue to a later date.
Okay, you have made that request already?
I asked the panel and they said it's better to wait for the hearing to start so we can formally do this. And they didn't think they had the authority to do it.
Mr. Nahori, I'm sorry, this is Robert Pulio, the executive officer. I understood earlier that you were wondering if we could proceed without your client present. Is that what you want to do, or you just want to continue to another day?
No, I would like to continue it.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure it's clear.
Right.
Thanks.
And good morning, Your Honor. Deputy Attorney General Joshua Eisenberg on this morning, representing the people of the state of California.
Good morning.
I was asked about the continuance, and my understanding is pursuant to 11-524 that we should wait until you were presiding before any movement was made on that continuance. But from the people of the state of California, there's no position one way or the other on the continuance matter, and seems to be good cause here in light of his client's heart attack.
I tend to agree. Thank you very much for that information, Mr. Eisenberg. So I don't have any issue with continuing it. We will need to go on the record to do that, but I do want to ask Dr. Paris or if any other members of the board have any concerns or anything that you think we need to address besides just simply continuing it until the next available date.
So this is Dr. Paris. I have no concerns or anything I need. I'm supportive of us continuing here. I'll let the rest of the board apply.
Any concerns or anything to add from any other members of the board? Dr. McLean or anyone else?
This is Dr. McLean. I have
Dr.
no
Paris.
concern.
This is Dr. Azzolino. I have no concerns.
This is Dr. Adams. I have no objections to the continuance.
This is Dr. Dane. I have no objections.
This is Frank Rufino, public board member. I do not have concerns either as long as counsel is comfortable with proceeding, obviously by requesting that he is. That said, if we do have a direct question, will that be the answer provided by counsel? Will that become hearsay or will that become factual? This is a question for the judge.
Counsel actually requesting a continuance, so he's asking that the matter be put over to another date where his client can be present. So there wouldn't be any testimony taken today.
Got it.
Okay.
No concerns on my end. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. And I noted that there is a Dr. Adams who was here with us, and just wanted to be certain, Dr. Adams, did you recently occupy the vacant position that was available with the board? Maybe my printout is old.
Yes, sir. I did recently fill that vacancy.
All right. Excellent. Okay. So with that said, I am prepared to go on the record to address the request. And Ms. Berryhill, are you ready to proceed?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. So let's go on the record. We are on the record to review petitions, 4 petitions submitted to the Board of Chiropractic Examiners Those petitions are petition for reinstatement of revoked license of Robert J. Farrell, the petition for reinstatement of revoked license of Nosrat N. Vadusen, and I have that spelling as Nosrat, middle initial N, Dhodousi. We have a petition for early termination of probation of Douglas Wayne Smith, and then a request for a CE course appeal hearing filed by ChiroCEcredits.com. Again, these matters are going to be heard before the Board of Chiropractic Examiners. Will all members of the board please identify themselves for the record?
Would you, Mr. Ruffino, would you like us to call roll again, or would you like us to just jump in? This is Dr. David Paris, Chair.
Thank you. If you could all simply state your names for the record, I think that would be satisfactory.
It might be easier just to call roll.
Whatever works.
Would you like to call roll, Mr. Ruffino?
Yes. Dr. David Paris,
Present.
Dr. Diane McLean,
Present.
Frank Ruffino, present. Dr. Lawrence Adams,
Present.
Dr. Sergio Azzolino,
Present.
Dr. Heather Den.
Present.
Everyone is present, Judge.
All right, thank you very much. A quorum of the board is present. My name is Ed Washington. I'm Administrative Law Judge with the Office of Administrative Hearings, and I have been assigned to preside over these matters. So the first matter that we are going to call is a matter of the petition for reinstatement of revoked license of Nosrat N. Vadusen. The Office of Administrative Hearings number for that matter is 2020110-195. May I take the appearance of the Deputy Attorney General, please?
Good morning, Your Honor. Deputy Attorney General Joshua Eisenberg, appearing on behalf of the Attorney General pursuant to Government Code Section 11522.
Thank you very much and good morning. May I take the appearance of counsel for Dr. Vadusen?
Good morning, Your Honor. Mac, M-A-C, last name Nehoray, N-E-H-O-R-A-Y, for Dr. Vadusen.
Good morning. And so, Mr. Nehoray, we talked a bit off the record, and it's my understanding that you would like to make a request for continuance. Is that correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay, could you please state on the record what your basis for that request is?
Yes, Your Honor. At 5:45 this morning, I received a call from my client's wife informing me that Mr. Vadusen had a heart attack. And as I was talking to her, the medics were there and they took him to the hospital. And he's unable to appear today.
All right, I'm sorry to hear that, and I hope that he recovers quickly. Mr. Eisenberg, do you have any, well, I'll say this, based on what I've heard, I'm inclined to grant the request for continuance. There appears to be good cause. Mr. Eisenberg, do you have any concerns or objections that you'd like to state with respect to the request for continuance?
No, Your Honor.
All right, and again, we have discussed this off the record, but just to make sure the record is clear, any concerns from the panel member or anything that any panel member would like to state in objection to the request for continuance? I will take that silence as there being no objection. And again, we have discussed this off the record. So I'm going to grant the request for continuance. What I will ask you to do, Mr. Nehoray, is work with the board's representative to find out when the next available date is, so that the matter can be placed on calendar at your soonest convenience. Understood?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you very much.
Okay, the matter is continued. Thank you very much. We're off the record.
Thank you.
And so, Ms. Berryhill, you don't have to pop back on, but what I intend to do is at the conclusion of all the hearings, I can obtain from you the estimated number of pages for each matter and the stop time. So we don't have to do it 4 times. We can just do it at the end of all 4 proceedings. All right, so are we ready to call the next matter?
Sorry, this is the court reporter. Now, do you want me to, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Do you want me to tell you the page number now or just all at the end?
I thought it would be more convenient for you to do it all at the end, but if you'd rather do it, if you'd rather do it the other way, I'm fine with that.
No, that's fine. We can, I'll just make a note. Thank you. I'll go mute myself again.
All right. And so
This is the moderator.
Yes, go ahead.
I have promoted our next petitioner, Robert Farrell. He is in our panelist list.
All right. And so, Mr. Farrell, can you, or Dr. Farrell, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can, sir.
All right. A couple of things I want to go over before we get started. We're about to begin your petition hearing, and you are not represented. Is that correct? You're representing yourself?
That is correct.
Okay. Have you petitioned for relief in the past?
I have not.
Okay. So I want to provide some instructions to you. I'm going to do that briefly before we go on the record so that you essentially understand how this hearing is going to work. All right?
Very good, yes.
Okay. So in these types of hearings, the board is particularly concerned about your rehabilitation or existence of other circumstances that have occurred since your license was disciplined. The Deputy Attorney General will present your petition packet and provide background information on this matter. After that, you'll have the opportunity to make your presentation. And at that point, I will swear you in and you will testify under oath and let us know whatever you would like us to know. Understand?
I do, sir. Thank you.
Okay. And the board and I have had the opportunity to review your petition, so you do not have to repeat everything in the petition packet line by line. What I generally recommend is that you summarize and touch on the key points or the points that you believe are most important or most persuasive. All right?
I understand. Thank you, sir.
Once you do that, you will be questioned by the board and the Deputy Attorney General. And then we will go into closed session after hearing after the other cases are called, we'll go into closed session and the board will make a determination. Okay?
And that determination, will it be made today or will it be pending?
The short answer is it will be pending. What will happen is when we deliberate, the board will make a determination. Based on that board's determination, I will then write a decision that will be approved by the board. And that decision will be finalized in 30 days or less. I'll tell you lately, based on calendaring, it's been right around 30 days.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Do you have any questions for me before we proceed?
No, I appreciate your input.
All right. So with that said, let's go on the record.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right, so we are back on the record and we are ready to hear the second matter today, and that is the matter of the petition for reinstatement of revoked license of Robert J. Farrell. Last name is spelled Farrell. The Office of Administrative Hearings number for this matter is 20201100198. Take the appearance of the Deputy Attorney General, please.
Good morning, Your Honor. Deputy Attorney General Joshua Eisenberg, appearing on behalf of the Attorney General pursuant to Government Code Section 11522, representing the people of the state of California.
Thank you, and good morning again. And may I have the appearance of the petitioner, Dr. Farrell, if you could state your name for the record.
This is Dr. Robert Joseph Farrell.
Okay. Thank you very much. Good morning.
Good morning.
And so, Mr. Farrell, we talked off the record and I went through a list of instructions in terms of how this matter will proceed. Do you have any questions for me?
I do not, sir.
Okay, and you are representing yourself, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and we have the petition. I assume you have no other documents that you intend to present in addition to your petition?
No, sir.
Okay. And with respect to witnesses, do you have any witnesses that you intend to testify other than yourself?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. So, Mr. Eisenberg, if you would present the petition packet at this point.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'll also like to say in introduction that I'm here today to assist the panel in fact-finding. My role here is not adversarial, but is intended to protect the public's interests. I'm here to ensure that the panel has adequate information from which to make a decision in this matter. At this time, I'd like to mark for identification and offer into evidence as Exhibit 1 the original petition packet with accompanying documents. My understanding is that each panel member, as well as Your Honor, has received a copy of this petition, and I will briefly describe in general terms the contents of the petition. The petition includes the petitioner's petition for reinstatement of revoked license, dated June 12th, 2020. Also included are court records, including sentencing reports and docket sheets. Also included in the petition are continuing education certificates of completion. There are several. There was an additional court record, a sentencing memorandum as to the petitioner's criminal conviction. And finally, also included in the petition are copies of the petitioner's discipline with the board. At this time, I offer the petition packet into evidence as Exhibit 1.
All right, the document described as Exhibit 1 has been marked. Dr. Farrell, you have any objection to Exhibit 1 being admitted into evidence, which essentially means that we will be able to consider it in making our determination?
No, sir.
All right, hearing no objection, Exhibit 1 is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Eisenberg, before you proceed, this is Robert Pulio again. I have a question from a board member wanting to know if we can ask Dr. Farrell to go on camera. So I'm just asking the judge and you if that's an option.
If it's an option, it certainly is better. I assume he could not connect via video, but Dr. Farrell, are you able to connect by video?
Quite frankly, I have no idea. I'm on my smartphone, so I don't know if there's a button that I need to push that could connect us by video. I'm happy to do so.
Okay, let's stand by just 1 second. Let's go off the record briefly. I don't think we need this on the record necessarily.
So, Shelley, can you walk him through that? Are you able to assist him with that?
I am. I'm pulling up my document now. Mr. Farrell, may I ask what type of phone you are on?
Before you start,
a smartphone 8 Plus, I believe.
Okay.
Do you have the ability to connect by computer, Dr. Farrell?
I do not.
Okay. You may proceed, Ms. Jones.
Thank you. All right, so anywhere on your screen, do you see the icon of a camera?
I do. It's next to, there's an icon for the speaker, and then there's a camera.
Okay.
Yes.
So if you click on the camera, does it pop up with the field that says start my video?
It does.
Click on that, and that should activate the video, I believe.
And I clicked on it.
And we can see you.
Oh, very good.
Judge Washington, the floor is yours.
All right, stand by just 1 second. I can see him, but it's sort of a silhouette, so I'm seeing if I can enlarge it. Or if it's possible, Dr. Farrell, is there a way where you can have the light source in front of you rather than behind you?
Yes, I'll just have to handhold my phone to do so.
That sounds like a lot of work. I don't want to.
Oh, no, I'm okay here. If that now works for you.
I can see you much better.
Okay, very good.
And if you need to move a lamp or something, we can give you a minute or two if that helps. I don't know how comfortable it is to handhold your phone during the entire proceeding.
Let me see. Well, I'm fine to just handle my phone.
Okay, that's fine. All right, so let's go back on the record. And Mr. Eisenberg, you may continue.
Thank you, Your Honor. At this time, I'd like to give a brief background of Mr. Farrell or Dr. Farrell's history with the board. The board issued Petitioner Chiropractor license number DC 19448 on January 27th of 1989. On April 12th, 2018, the board filed accusation number AC 2018-1172, alleging the following: violations of the Chiropractic Initiative Act, Section 10, 16 CCR 317G, and Business and Professions Code 490 for the conviction of a crime substantially related to the qualifications, functions, and duties of a chiropractor. Briefly, I'll describe that on May 4th, 2017, there was a May 4th, 2017 conviction for a March 10th, 2017 DUI arrest with one prior. Petitioner was convicted on his plea of guilty to violating Vehicle Code Section 23152, Subdivision B, driving a vehicle while having a 0.08% or more of alcohol in his blood, a misdemeanor. Petitioner's blood alcohol content was 0.21 and 0.22. As a result of this conviction, the petitioner was put on summary probation for 48 months, 45 days in custody, 8-month DUI program, 66 AA meetings, and a MAD victim impact panel. On January 17th of 2018, Dr. Farrell was convicted for a May 3rd, 2017 DUI arrest with two priors. He was convicted on his plea of guilty to the same violation of Vehicle Code Section 23152, Subdivision B, a misdemeanor. The BAC for this arrest was a 0.29.28. As a result of the conviction, the petitioner was placed on summary probation for 60 months, ending January of 2023, 180 days in custody, 90 days which was served in residential treatment, 90 days on Sheriff's Work Project, a MAD victim impact panel, 44 AA meetings, 180 days in the SCRAM program, an 18-month DUI alcohol education course, the installation of an IID, and the payment of fines and fees. The accusation also alleged the petitioner's conduct was unprofessional and that his conduct endangered the public, involved the dangerous use of alcohol, and included multiple alcohol-related convictions. On June 12, 2020, the petitioner signed a petition for reinstatement of his revoked license and submitted it to the board. Because the burden is on the petitioner, I have no further statements but would reserve the right to ask questions of the petitioner.
Thank you very much for that presentation, Mr. Eisenberg. President Paris or Chair Paris, I do have a question for you. With respect to the proceedings, usually we have, once the petitioner makes their presentation, the Deputy Attorney General will ask questions, and then the board will follow up with questions. But some board presidents or chairs prefer to go before the Deputy Attorney General. Do you have a preference?
I believe traditionally we have gone after.
Right. Okay. So we will do that in this case. Thank you very much. So Dr. Farrell, are you ready to present your petition?
My phone just rang. I just declined it. So yes, I'm ready to proceed.
All right. Would you please raise your right hand and let me know when you have?
I have, sir.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you provide today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you very much. You may lower your hand. Would you please state and spell both your first and last name for the record now that you are under oath?
Robert Joseph Farrell, ROBERT JOSEPH FARRELL.
Thank you very much. So Dr. Farrell, if you were represented by an attorney, the attorney would now ask you questions to elicit whatever testimony or evidence you felt was appropriate to support your case. What I tell individuals who represent themselves is just tell us what you want us to know. Be sure that you focus on those rehabilitative efforts that I described to you during my instructions this morning. All right?
Yes, sir.
You may proceed.
Thank you. Yes, back in 2017, I had 2 DUIs, which was reprehensible, of course. I won't describe the incidents that I was going through that created that problem. I voluntarily went into alcohol rehabilitation for 3 months. I left that facility August 28th, 2017. For the past 3 years and approximately 6 months, I have been sober. I met all the requirements, all the stipulations that the judge sentenced me to, the MED program, all the AA meetings, which I still attend on a regular basis. So it's a continuing battle. I am a recovering alcoholic. I always will be. But never have I ever had any claims made against me as far as my chiropractic abilities and practice over the 28 years that I was a chiropractor and wish to continue to be. So I've gone through all the requirements to meet the court demands, and I continue to attend my AA meetings, and it will be an ongoing process, but I'm sober and I will continue to be so. And that's really all I have to say. I just want to get back into the profession that I love, that I'm best at, and to get my life back on track. So thank you for your consideration.
All right, thank you very much. Questions, Mr. Eisenberg? Your microphone is muted.
Thank you for the reminder, Your Honor. I appreciate that. Good morning, Dr. Farrell.
Good morning, sir.
So you stated that you didn't really want to describe what was going on in your life that led to the DUIs in 2017, but I think the board would be interested to hear what factors led to that, to those convictions.
Absolutely. I was just in a relationship that was causing very financial stress on me. Wonderful, beautiful woman, still friends with her today, but no longer with her. But we were in extreme financial crisis because of her, quite frankly. She just wasn't working, and it was draining all of my finances. And so that was the duress that I was under at that time. No excuse for what I did, but that was what precipitated what occurred.
And throughout the AA meetings and courses that were court ordered, did you end up identifying financial stress as a trigger for your drinking?
That's a really good question. I probably did. It's been quite a while, but yes, more than likely that's what it was. Just extreme financial duress.
Okay, and I'll phrase it.
I'm sorry, he faded out for a minute there. Can you repeat that?
Yes. I probably did at that point. Again, it's been over 3 years, but I'm sure that I quoted that it was extreme financial duress that was that created the problem that caused me to get the DUIs.
Okay, and I'll ask that a bit more broadly. Throughout the programs that you entered into to address your substance abuse, were you able to identify the triggers that lead to your drinking?
Well, they say that it's a genetic issue, that if your family has a predisposition to alcoholism, which mine does, it's a genetic predisposition.
Okay, and in light of that, what steps are you taking to ensure that you don't relapse?
The only steps I can take is just going to my AA meetings, which I do on twice-a-week basis. And I have a sponsor that I speak to on a daily basis. And it's a day-by-day issue, and that's the steps that we take in Alcoholics Anonymous.
And are you, in fact, currently working the 12 steps?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Have you worked them more than once?
Yes, actually. I started in the program while I was in rehab. When I came out, I restarted them. That was 3 months after. And that's when actually you do a continuance of the program.
Okay. And what is your sobriety date?
My sobriety date was May 28th, 2017.
And is that day particularly significant to you? And if so, why?
Oh, that's when I entered the rehab voluntarily in Desert Hot Springs, California.
Okay. And so, as a part of the court's order, you were required to attend an 18-month alcohol education class. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And you've also had at this point, you'd had 2 prior DUIs. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so I imagine for those first DUIs, you also were required to attend an alcohol education course, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So can you tell the panel what's different this time around? What was different about this 3rd DUI offense? And what did you get out of this 18-month alcohol education class that may have been different or may have been more lasting than the prior classes?
Well, the initial classes were very minimal as far as what they did, what the education. This 18-month was just a weekly class that I took, then bi-weekly, and I bonded very well with the woman that was conducting the class. She, like I, are from New York, so we had a big connection there. Her husband is an alcoholic, so she explained to me the issues that she was going through dealing with that. So there was a real bonding there with this class. She was beyond just a counselor. She became a friend, and it just drove home the importance and the significance of my choices when it came to drinking and driving. And so there was a very close bonding with this woman, and it made the course much, much more effective for me this time around.
You stated in your petition packet that you were unable to engage in continuing education due to financial constraints. What efforts have you taken beyond the CE classes that I do see certificates for to keep yourself updated as to techniques or developments in the profession?
Well, I continue to go to 2 of my previous employers that are chiropractors, so just to get chiropractic treatment. So they always just update me about anything that's going on, anything new when it comes to x-ray machines, new techniques, new therapies. I do not have any, I don't prescribe to any any literature, again, due to financial restraints. It just wasn't in my agenda. Quite frankly, I had been homeless for almost 2 years. And so there was a lot of financial restraints. But I did go see my previous employers to get adjusted, and they would just update me about anything new that's going on in the chiropractic industry. And I also get lots of email from the chiropractic examiners indicating new seminars and stuff like that that's going on.
Well, and if you were to have your license reinstated, what efforts would you take to ensure that you were up to date on all techniques and developments in the profession?
Well, at that point, being employed in that capacity, of course, I would now prescribe to the new literature that's available. So I would just, get the information through that avenue. I know I can also do that online.
Okay. And as a result of your conviction, is it correct that you're on criminal probation until January of 2023?
Yeah, when I had the conviction, it was a 5-year conviction. I've met all the stipulations of the violation. Everything is taken care of. The only thing I have left is just to pay the court fees, which I still owe about $3,000. But everything else that was involved with the conviction has been met. But the probation cannot be removed for 5 years from the date of conviction.
Okay. And do you have a payment plan with the court to satisfy the outstanding fines and fees?
I do. I pay $50 a month.
Okay. And I just wanted to clarify, I think you had stated in your petition packet that you voluntarily entered a 90-day residential rehab program. I just want to be clear about voluntary. Was that an option to avoid 90 days in custody, or was that court mandated, or was that something truly beyond the scope of the court's orders?
It was not court mandated. My girlfriend at the time is a nurse. She was very, very powerful about saying, you need to get help. We need to get through this together. So she's the one that suggested it, and I knew I needed to do it at that point.
Okay. Do you currently have any criminal convictions that the board is unaware of?
No, sir.
Okay. Are there any current criminal or civil charges pending against you in this state or in any other jurisdiction?
No, sir.
Okay. And finally, you've had 3 prior DUI convictions. What assurances can you give the board that such behavior is behind you?
I really can't give any assurances. All I know is that this is a day-by-day battle. I'm a alcoholic, recovering alcoholic, and if I follow my steps, follow my program, that's the best way I can try to never do something like this in the future. I can't give any assurances because this is what I am, unfortunately, but I'm working the steps to avoid ever doing this again. And I actually tried to go through the state of California to keep a device on my car just so I could not even start my car, but they wouldn't allow me to do that, just as the last resort type of measure. But I work my steps, and that's the only assurance that I can give, and work with my sponsor every day that I call every day.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor. I will yield to the board members at this time.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Eisenberg. So, Dr. Paris, I know we're a bit short on time. I would have asked this before we started, but I don't mind asking now. Would you like me to prompt each panel member for questions, or do you intend to proceed in a certain order with questions without my prompting? If you can clarify for the record, I'll know how to proceed.
If you don't mind, and if you have a list of the board members there, I believe if you just prompt all the board members, we can reply if we have any questions or not.
Sounds good. Then I will start with you, Dr. Paris. Do you have questions for the witness or for the petitioner?
I do have a question, and I'd first like to say, Dr. Farrell, congratulations on best wishes on your continued sobriety, and I commend you on accepting that it can be a lifelong journey. My concern is that seemingly the reality of keeping up with your professional responsibilities and duties by having discussions with your chiropractors during a treatment visit, it seems to me like my expectation would have been that perhaps you would have come up with something a little bit more engaging and actually perhaps more realistic in that ability. And there really is a lot of, I understand you mentioned when we started this call that there wasn't a computer available and thus you're taking the call on your phone, but there's a lot out there online, including avenues of free CE. And I'm wondering if you can tell me a little bit more about how you might be able to do that. And my concern would be that, you have a lot of continuing education to make up, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on that.
Absolutely. As I stated earlier, it's embarrassing to say, but for the past, well, I'll tell you the exact date, since January 5th, 2018, I have been homeless because of all the ramifications of what happened financially. So I was living out of my car, I was car camping, and I had access to no computers or anything. In the last 3 months, I've moved in with my brother here in Carlsbad, California. So now I'm just starting to be able to access that type of communication possibilities. So that's what I will be doing. I'll get a computer here, but for the past 2.5 years, I've had no access to any type of computer or any media to be able to continue my education and my awareness of the updates in chiropractic. So that's where I'm at now. Now I'll have be able to have the access to be able to get that information to continue my education about what's going on in the chiropractic industry.
Understood. Thank you very much. So what I'm hearing is that you believe that you can, in fact, now access the resources that would allow you to obtain continuing education that you've missed.
That's correct. I'll just have to get a computer, which I now have the funds since I've been working to be able to get a computer and access all that information.
Thank you. I
Thank
have
you.
no further.
All right, thank you very much. Dr. McLean, do you have questions for the petitioner?
Good morning. Yes, sir. I do have a couple of questions. Good morning, Dr. Farrell. I wanted to ask you, I understand that you had some great challenges with homelessness, and but that you were employed at one time. And along the same lines of Dr. Paris, again, just wanting to see what you are going to do or what your plans are as far as getting up to speed and staying up to speed. But before I ask this question, I wanted to ask you, do you have a library card?
I do.
Okay. Most libraries have computers, so you don't have to wait until you can purchase one, just so that you know that.
Yeah, that's correct. And I've actually have done that, but now, and that was my primary way of dealing with any correspondence, was going through the library, utilizing their computer. But now all the libraries are shut down. So,
right.
Yeah. So
I know.
haven't
Recently. Yeah. This
yes.
year has been that.
It's been on and off since
Stand
the
by.
pandemic.
Stand by. If you could stand by, Dr. Farrell. If everyone could stand by 1 second. One piece of advice or request I'm going to make for everyone, particularly you, Dr. Farrell. You've done it a couple of times, and I know this is what we do in everyday conversation. But because we have a court reporter here that's taking down what's being stated, we have to be sure that we speak one at a time. Even when everyone's in the same room, it's extremely difficult for the court reporter to take down two people speaking at once. When we're communicating via WebEx or other electronic media, it's almost impossible to create a clear record. So what I want to remind you, Dr. Farrell, is that you wait until the question is complete before you respond. And with respect to people who are questioning you, including myself, we'll do our best to make sure that we wait until you finish your response before we ask the next question. Again, it's natural in everyday conversation when you can anticipate what the other person is going to say, but it's extremely difficult for the court reporter to take down two people speaking at once.
I understand. I apologize.
No problem. Thank you very much. You may continue, Dr. McLean.
I just have two other questions. One, when was your last AA meeting that you attended?
My last AA meeting was on Monday.
And the next question is, what is your plan to begin practicing if we are to reinstate you? That means how, when, where, what plan do you have for beginning to practice again?
My plan is just to basically just go online and try to find available positions as an associate. I don't want to open up my own practice. I'm 60 years old. I'm thinking another 10 years of chiropractic. I'm in good shape. And so I'm just going to try to find an associate position, hopefully in North County, San Diego. But quite frankly, I will go anywhere in California just to practice again, practice what I love doing, what I'm very good at doing.
I have nothing further. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dr. McLean. Mr. Rufino, you have questions for Dr. Farrell?
No questions, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you very much. Dr. Azzolino, any questions?
Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor. I do have several questions. So I understand that you have been living with your brother for 3 months now. And how long is your plan to continue living with him?
My plan is to stay here indefinitely until I get a job, and depending on where the job is at, I will relocate to that place. But right now, I'm working at Home Depot as a manager, assistant manager, and I will stay here until I find a job and a chiropractic position, and relocate to that area at that time.
And is there a reason why you did not start living with your brother prior to the past 3 months?
Yes, I couldn't. I was trying at that point. I was working at Walmart as a customer service manager, and I was trying to get transferred back down to North County, San Diego. I was working in Temecula, and it just was proving to be impossible to make that transfer. So I finally just stopped working at Walmart. I found a position at Home Depot down here in Carlsbad, half a mile away from where he lives. So that's what precipitated me coming down here.
Thank you. And have you made any efforts whatsoever for volunteering, working in another role in a chiropractic office besides as a doctor of chiropractic? Have you reached out to any colleagues yet? Mentioned several times that you want to wait until you get your license, but have you done anything in the interim?
No, I have not. I didn't even think of that as an option, doing volunteer work. Quite frankly, I was working 2 to 3 jobs for the last 2 years just to make ends meet. So it was a 7-day work week for me. I was doing working at a winery as a banquet captain. I was working at Walmart. I was also running golf events to raise money for veterans that are suffering from PTSD. So it was 7 days a week that I was just trying to make ends meet, quite frankly.
I understand. And is there a reason why you might have pursued administrative work in other venues such as Walmart versus chiropractic or healthcare office?
No, retail is not my thing. Walmart, while it's a wonderful place for people to shop, it's a very highly stressful, and it's just not something I like doing, being in retail. And it just seems like it would be a very, very long process to progress up the ladder to make a decent living. I was working for $15 an hour, and even.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Let me restate my question. Is there a reason why, given that you are working at Home Depot, you worked at Walmart, that you did not pursue a similar type position in a healthcare office or in a chiropractic office?
Oh, that's a very good question. I just went through Indeed, and quite frankly, nothing really popped up aside of just working at the front desk and being a scheduler or something like that. So yeah, I should have pursued that, I guess, but I've never really saw any opportunities in that area that showed up on Indeed. That was what I utilized in order to find any type of work.
And these colleagues that you have been pursuing or reaching out to for treatment and that have been apparently providing you updates on the profession, have you made any efforts to offer your services in some way, shape, or form outside of your chiropractic services in their office?
My first friend, Dr. Dennis, well, I won't use a name. He's long since retired. And the other doctor I worked with for, gosh, I guess 16, 17 years. And I just never thought of going back to him. We have a great relationship, but I don't know what even capacity he could possibly hire me without my license back. So
okay. And lastly, I would just, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's all, sir.
I would just lastly state that you do have a computer in hand that you're using right now, and
I do
certainly
not.
Given I'm suggesting as a computer, given events here with COVID, there is ample information, ample opportunity to take free online courses now, all of which can be easily viewed through a phone. So I certainly would not wait until circumstances change if you want to be up to date on any of the changes within our profession or to keep your skills up. And so my last question is quite simply, how, if in any way, shape, or form, have you kept your physical psychomotor skills up in regards to manipulation or treatment?
I treat my family and I treat my friends on a regular basis. Whenever they ask me when they need an adjustment, I do so. And so I've been very up to date as far as just my own manual skills. I'm very proud of them, and I think they're just absolutely satisfactory and more than satisfactory. And
where are you treating your friends? I'm sorry.
I just go to their home.
Where are you treating your friends?
I go to their home.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Thank you very much. Dr.
I have no questions.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. Okay.
I'm sorry, this is Dr. Dane. I have no questions.
All right. Dr. Adams, any questions?
Yes. Just a couple of questions here. One is when you were asked by the counsel as to triggers to your drinking, you seemed a little hesitant in having given some forethought to what those triggers are, but settled on the thought that financial hardship was your primary trigger. I'm wondering if you have any other triggers that you've identified.
Yes, that's a great question. And I was actually going to, that would have been my first response. When I was in rehab, one of the counselors indicated, I love to backpack. I love to do a lot of outdoor things. And he indicated that one of my triggers is actually success. When I've accomplished something very, very great as far as how I perceive it, I just want to celebrate. I've just did a I hiked Mount Whitney, 21 miles. I did that in a day. And when I finished it, I just thought, you know what? I want to reward myself with an ice cold beer. And when he heard that, he identified one of my triggers is success, celebrating a physical or emotional conquest. And that was one of the other triggers that he identified for me.
And I'm sorry, Dr. Farrell, you broke up a little bit there. Could you repeat your last couple of sentences?
Just that when I was in rehab, one of the counselors indicated, listening to the reason why I just want to have a nice cold beer is success, that I've accomplished something physical. I hiked a mountain and it was a long, hard hike. I just want a nice cold beer afterwards. So he identified one of my triggers is success, having created a personal accomplishment.
Got it. Thank you. You may proceed, Dr. Adams.
Yes. Any other triggers that you identified during your time in the rehabilitation center?
No, that was the main one, and it made sense to me. It made total sense. When I was in the rehab, I'm a golfer. I went to college on a golf scholarship, and I was teaching someone at the rehab how to play golf. And I saw what a natural ability this guy had, and the joy of seeing him love the game of golf and starting to love the game of golf just exhilarated me. But one of the first things that popped in my mind is like, God, it'd be nice just to celebrate this with a cold drink. So that's the only trigger, but it made total sense to me when the counselor told me that, and I experienced it.
One other follow-up question along the same lines of questioning when Dr. Azzolino was questioning you. You mentioned that you are adjusting your family and you are adjusting friends, and that you are adjusting friends in their home. And I would like to have an answer as to what you are doing to follow the rules and regulations of chiropractic in those circumstances.
I'm not quite sure how to answer that. These are people that I've been treating for over 30 years. So I just, as I have over the course of 30 years, just do the appropriate adjustment. I don't do any therapy or anything like that. I have my chiropractic table that I carry with me. And so I just, over the years, know how to treat them and do an evaluation with them about what they're experiencing, and then proceed as I always have in the past.
Are you keeping records? Are you receiving informed consent?
No, I have not, sir.
I have no further questions.
All right, thank you. Mr. Pulio, any questions for Dr. Farrell?
No, I won't be asking questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Sometimes when one panel member asks questions, another panel member may think of something that they either forgot to ask or would like to ask, although their turn, so to speak, has finished. Are there any other questions from any members of the panel that you would like to address at this point? If so, please speak up. If not, you may remain silent.
I have a question. This is Dr. Paris.
Yes.
I would like to pick up on what Mr. Farrell mentioned about effectively what sounds to me like unlicensed practice at his house and seeing friends and family. And Mr. Farrell, I'd like you to reflect on the idea and the notion of why you would have a license and how that would, what it sounds like you're currently doing right now at home, which in my mind, sitting here sounds like it sounds like you're practicing, and so I have some major concerns there. And I got the impression that friends and family to you does not equal patient, and the lack of records and informed consent very concerning. I'd like you to comment on that.
Quite frankly, I didn't know the legal ramifications of doing that. Again, I have just been, I have mentally, I know how I've been treating my friends and family. There's just my brother and two other of my lifelong friends. So I know how I've been treating them. I know what needs to be done. I reevaluate them each time that I do treatment. It's not a regular thing. But as far as the legal ramifications of writing everything down, that's obviously an error in my aspect, because they need to be protected. They need to know what I am doing with them if anything should go wrong. Again, I didn't know any legal ramifications of just taking care of family and friends, not being paid for it or anything like that. But the most important thing is to protect them by documenting it, which I did not do. And that is obviously an egregious thing on my part. So, so that's my response at this point.
So can you reflect for the board on your thoughts on what it meant to have a revoked license?
I'm sorry, can you state that again, sir?
Well, your understanding of having a revoked license, effectively, what did that mean? What did it mean you could do or could not do in regards to practicing chiropractic?
My thoughts were that I just couldn't legally provide chiropractic care and be compensated financially for that care. So I couldn't, well, that's pretty much it, that I could not be financially compensated for providing chiropractic care.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
All right, if there are any other questions from any other panel members, please speak up now. If not, remain silent.
Your Honor, I actually have a question for you. Since the claimant is unrepresented by counsel, and this recent line of questioning brings into some other questions related to licensure, should any instructions be given to the claimant before proceeding?
That's a good question, and for the record, just so the court reporter was clear, that question was from Dr. Adams. So I don't know if any instructions are required, and I'm not sure myself, 100% sure what the implications are, because I'm obviously not a licensed chiropractor of what respondent has, or sorry, what petitioner has testified to under oath. I will say this, Mr. Farrell, you, or Dr. Farrell, you filed this petition, you were sworn in, and you stated that you would testify, or the statements that you made that you would make today are the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. To the extent you either, I think the best way to say this, you believe or understand that you may have stated something that either puts your license in jeopardy or may in some other way be detrimental to your career or other circumstances, I would advise you to consult with either another licensed professional or an attorney with respect to that, so that you may address whatever concerns you may have or you perceive that the board may have. Again, because I'm not a specialist in the field, I'm not here to say what you should or should not state. Sometimes with respect to criminal matters, I will remind individuals who are testifying of their right related to self-incrimination. Again, as it relates to criminal matters, not licensing matters. Sometimes that means that respondents or individuals are either reluctant to or are free to refuse to make statements during administrative hearings because of how it may affect their livelihood or freedom outside of an administrative hearing. I generally don't tell individuals what to say or what not to say, but sometimes if I perceive that there may be a criminal issue, I will remind them of their right not to self-incriminate themselves. To the extent they choose not to testify or make a statement, I will let them know that that will be taken into consideration. It doesn't necessarily mean, from where I sit as a judge, that the person has something to hide. Sometimes it means that the person is just taking making what they feel are the best choices for them. And I will incorporate that into the decision. As an example, if someone chooses not to testify or chooses not to respond to a question, I may state that in the decision and also state that they have every right to do that. But since this is your petition, obviously I'll leave those decisions to you. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. I understand 100%.
All right. Is there anything that you would like to add based on the advisory that I just provided to you?
Not at all.
Okay. And just to be clear, and I know you stated this, but I want to be sure it's clear for the record. What I understand is you believe that when your license was revoked, you were simply is a wrong term, but you were prohibited from engaging in practicing chiropractic, if that's a correct term, practicing as a chiropractor for compensation, correct?
That is correct, sir.
And there were people who were family and friends that you had treated previously that you continued to treat?
Yes, as they needed it. When they called me and just said, Bob, I need an adjustment. Longtime family and friends, I did do that.
Okay. And before your license was revoked, did you provide treatment to them for compensation?
No.
Okay. So those are all the questions that I have. And now that I've stated that, I'll give the panel one last opportunity if there are any additional questions. Sounds like there are not. Mr. Eisenberg, did you have any additional questions that you would like to ask?
Nothing further. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you very much. So with that said, the matter is submitted and we are off the record.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. And so, Dr. Farrell, I believe I described to you what the process is. At this point, we've obtained all the information from you that we need to. You are free to go, and we are going to call our next case shortly.
Thank you, sir. You've been very helpful, and I appreciate all your input.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Have a safe and healthy day.
Mm-hmm. And Ms. Jones, is our next case ready, or do we need to take a short break?
This is the moderator. I have promoted Douglas Smith as a panelist. Mr. Smith, can you please do a quick mic check?
Testing 1, 2, 3. Hello, this is a mic check.
We can hear you. And do you have a camera available on your device to utilize today?
I do.
can test that as well.
I don't see an option to start the video. Oh, there it is. The side camera is on. I don't see the option to start the video. When I click on the camera, nothing occurs, nothing happens.
It doesn't pop up another window?
There's one at the bottom of the screen. It's, start my video.
Yeah, let's try that. It depends on how you've logged in.
So settings, camera.
And if I can jump in here, since we've gone through two of our petitions thus far, and it's close to 10:45, why don't we take a break while we work out the video, and that'll give everyone a chance to grab a coffee or take a restroom break. So let's take a break and let's start back again at 11 a.m. Thank you. All right, thank you very much. So Dr. Smith, I provided instructions to the previous petitioner off the record. Were you able to hear those instructions? I'm not 100% sure. You were?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then I will not go through the time to repeat them. The one thing I will emphasize or will repeat is be sure that you speak loud and clearly, and that you do not speak over those who are questioning you. And for the questioners, we're going to do our best not to speak over you as well. It's extremely important that we speak one at a time. Do you have any questions for me before we begin?
No, I do not, Your Honor.
Okay.
Yep.
And with that said, let's go back on the record. All right, we are back on the record to hear the third matter this morning. I'm now calling the petition for early termination of probation of Douglas Wayne Smith. The Office of Administrative Hearings number for this matter is 2020110-611. May I have the appearance of the Deputy Attorney General, please?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Joshua Eisenberg, Deputy Attorney General, appearing on behalf of the AG pursuant to Government Code Section 11522, representing the people of the state of California.
Thank you very much. And Dr. Smith, if you would please state your name for the record.
My name is Douglas Wayne Smith.
All right, thank you very much. And by just one moment, please. Multiple screens open here, so I want to be sure I have the right one open. Okay, and if you have no questions for me, then Mr. Eisenberg, I would ask you to proceed with your presentation of evidence.
Thank you, Your Honor. Again, operating under the understanding that both Your Honor and all of the panel members and petitioner have a copy of the petition that I'll now introduce to identify and introduce into evidence. It's the original petition packet with accompanying documents, and these documents include, briefly, I'll just describe categories. These documents include the Probation Compliance Summary Report, Dr. Smith's petition for early termination of probation, along with a memorandum of points and authorities in support thereof. Exhibit A of the petition packet includes court records from the criminal proceedings in the Superior Court. Exhibits B through G contain both mitigation and rehabilitation documentation showing compliance with terms of criminal and/or board probation. Exhibit E includes petitioner's curriculum vitae. Exhibit F, beyond that, in Exhibit H are continuing education certificates of compliance. There are several. Also in Exhibits I and J are letters of support, one from a licensed marriage and family therapist and another from a licensed chiropractor. And finally, in Exhibit A are copies of the documents from the board's disciplinary proceedings against Petitioner. At this time, I offer the packet into evidence as Exhibit 1.
All right, the document described by counsel has been marked for identification as Exhibit 1. Dr. Smith, you have any objection to Exhibit 1 being admitted into evidence?
No, I do not.
Hearing no objection, Exhibit 1 is admitted.
Thank you. If Your Honor is okay with it, I'll proceed with a brief background of Petitioner's disciplinary history with the board.
You may.
Thank you, Your Honor. On January 1st of 1986, the board issued Petitioner chiropractor license number DC 17824. On September 20th, 2016, the board filed an accusation against the petitioner, alleging that the petitioner had been convicted of crimes substantially related to the qualifications, functions, and duties of a licensed chiropractor, specifically violations of 16 CCR 317 sub G, for crimes involving the dangerous, for criminal convictions substantially related, and 317 subdivision F, in that those crimes involve the dangerous use of alcohol. And I'll just briefly describe what those convictions are as alleged in the accusation. On April 22nd, 2016, after pleading no contest, Petitioner was convicted of one misdemeanor count of violating Vehicle Code Section 20002 sub A, a hit and run with property damage. As a result of this conviction, Petitioner was ordered to a 3-year criminal probation. And the circumstances briefly are that the petitioner collided with parked vehicles and fled the scene. On June 17th, 2016, after pleading guilty, Petitioner was convicted of one misdemeanor count of violating Vehicle Code Section 23152, Subdivision A, driving while under the influence of alcohol, and one felony count of violating Vehicle Code Section 2800.2, Sub A, evading an officer and reckless driving. As a result of, I'll briefly describe the circumstances as they're relevant to the proceedings, and because the stipulated settlement entered into admitted to the petitioner admitted to the truth of each and every allegation set forth in the accusation for the purposes of these proceedings. And I'll just describe briefly that the circumstances involved what ended up being a pursuit of Petitioner after he tried to evade officers in his vehicle. When the officers eventually were able to initiate a stop of the petitioner, his blood alcohol content was 0.24 on the first and second readings. As a result of the petitioner's conviction, he was sentenced to 210 days in jail, a 9-month first offender DUI program, and a 36-month probationary period. On March 17th, 2017, the petitioner entered into a stipulated settlement with the board, which was adopted as the board's final decision and order on May 22nd, 2017, and became effective on June 21st, 2017. As a result of the stipulated settlement, petitioner's license was revoked. However, the revocation was stayed pending a 5-year probationary period, which expires on June 21st, 2022. This included standard terms as well as optional terms of probation to account for the petitioner's substance abuse. On May 22nd, 2020, petitioner signed a petition for early termination of probation and submitted it to the board. Because the burden is on petitioner, I have no further statements, but would reserve the right to question petitioner.
Thank you very much, Mr. Eisenberg. Dr. Smith, do you have any witnesses that you intend to call other than yourself?
No, I do not.
All right, are you ready to testify at this point?
Yes, I am, Your Honor.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you provide today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you very much. And as I mentioned to the previous petitioner, to the extent you're representing yourself, what I recommend you do is simply tell us what you want us to know and focus on any rehabilitative evidence or any other information that you believe is key to supporting your petition. You may proceed when ready. Before you do, please state and spell both your first and last name for the record.
Douglas Smith, Douglas Smith.
Thank you. You may proceed.
In September of 2015, I committed the crimes, as mentioned earlier, of a hit and run, driving under the influence, and evading a police officer. I was sentenced to time in jail and community service for all these actions. Fortunately, I was able to do it on home confinement, and I only had to spend 5 or 7 days in jail, which I'm grateful for. Following this event and these horrible events in my life, which I take full responsibility for, there was a result of a moral failing and an inability to cope with life stressors that occurred at that time. My mother, at the end of 2014, died of Alzheimer's disease. My father-in-law, in January of 2015, died of cancer. At the same time, we were taking care of my mother-in-law, who has dementia. And so that was a great deal of stress on my wife and I, and it absolutely does not justify the crimes that I committed. But this is the worst thing that I did in my life, and I'm deeply, deeply sorry for those events, and I accept full responsibility. I attended a in-person rehab center, the Cottage Rehabilitation Center, for 28 days starting in December of 2015. And that's in Exhibit B of the paperwork that you have. See what page that is. That's on page 29 of the packet. During this time at the Rehabilitation Center, I was able to reflect on my actions and what was going on in my life at that time. There were a lot of group meetings, and there was one-on-one counseling sessions. And I attended AA meetings at that time and had, just above all, a serious opportunity to reflect on myself and my actions and what was going on at that time of my life. After my stay at the Cottage Rehabilitation Center, and this is an inpatient center, I started attending on a regular basis AA meetings. I didn't find that they were as helpful to me as I would have liked. I have, throughout my life, I've been involved in science and research and developing a cognitive understanding of problems as they occurred. And the AA, I didn't feel, provided me that opportunity. So during the time in 2016, I did a lot of research, and I came across SMART Recovery, which stands for Self-Management and Recovery Training. And I started attending SMART meetings online, and I was just amazed at the research that was involved in addictive behaviors and the tools that they gave for dealing with problems, addictive, irrational thoughts and behaviors, emotional problems, and the training of how to react cognitively and emotionally to life stressors, which included CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, but also included meditation, which I'd done before, and I started doing more of, and mindfulness training. So I was involved in that, and I did that and I'm still doing that. And eventually I became a facilitator for SMART. And I've been conducting weekly meetings since 2018. And in addition to the meetings, I also produced a podcast with the president of the Alano Club in Santa Barbara, which is a AA facility. And in this podcast, I discussed the elements of SMART and how it could be beneficial to listeners of that podcast. And in addition to the SMART recovery, I saw a therapist on a regular basis here in Santa Barbara. And I saw a therapist also through video conferencing, and that was Jerry Maramus. In that page 19, under factor 4.
Can you spell the name of your therapist?
And pardon?
Can you spell the name of your therapist?
Yeah, it was Jerry Maramus, JERRYMERMES.
Thank you.
So his statement is in page 20 of the packet, a summary of his statement. So since that time, I've been actively involved in conducting SMART recovery meetings at my office. Initially, it wasn't at my office, it was at the Alano Club in Santa Barbara, and I worked with people from AA there. But eventually, I decided to move it to a different non-AA facility, so that's why I chose my office to conduct those meetings. So recovery and rehabilitation have been really important in this journey that I was on, that I have been on, and I'm still on. I've done rehabilitation through training and education, and actually and through teaching. So and working with other people that are in recovery has allowed me to develop even a greater understanding and perspective of the illness, addictive behaviors. And in conclusion, on page 10, I'd like to emphasize to the board that I take full responsibility for criminal conduct. And not a day goes by that I don't regret that I put my license and public safety at risk. This event was a wake-up call to myself regarding the dangerous and risky behavior I just engaged in. I was convicted of my crimes as I should have been. As a professional, I truly recognize that I need to be extremely conscious of my actions and how they affect others. To this point, I welcome any questions and inquiries from the board moving forward, and I thank you for considering my life circumstances at the time when evaluating my petition for early termination.
Thank you. So before I allow questions, on 2 or 3 occasions thus far, you have referenced page numbers, and I believe the page numbers in the petition are different than the page numbers that you have. I was able to find the written statement by your therapist, Mr. Maramus, I believe was the name, but you just made a final reference to a page that sounded like it was a statement from you, and I'm not sure I've been able to locate it.
That's in the packet. It's labeled BCE 000010.
Okay, stand by 1 moment, please.
There's also a number 7 on that page.
I see it. Thank you very much. Questions, Mr. Eisenberg?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Dr. Smith.
Good morning.
Hi, so I just, I see here in BCE 9 and 10 that you've included your reason for petition for early termination. I'm hoping that you can just tell us in your own words right? You entered into a settlement agreement with the board for a 5-year probation. Why specifically are you seeking to terminate your probation early?
As a result of my probation, I'm unable to see patients that I was able to see before because they are unable to afford my services, in spite of the fact that I've lowered my prices, my fees. And I would like to be able to offer services to the patients that were unable to come see me prior to my license being put on probation. Would also like to be able to be put back on the preferred provider list that I was on. I'm on a full cash practice right now, which is going well, but I do have opportunities available to treat more patients. So I would like to be included again on the preferred provider list for insurance companies.
Okay, thank you. And so your probation compliance reports showed that up to the date the report was submitted, that you'd maintain compliance with all terms of your probation. Between that date and today's hearing, have you had any violations of your board-ordered probation? For instance, have you missed any test dates or have you tested positive?
Out of the 3.5 years, there was only one time that I missed a date when my car broke down after work and I wasn't able to go in. And I wrote a statement to that fact to my probation monitor. So yes.
Okay. And are you currently maintaining sobriety?
I am.
Okay. What is your?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I am abstinent is a big part of the Smart Recovery program, and it's a big, important part of my life right now.
Okay, and because I'm a bit unfamiliar with the Smart Recovery program, others may be more familiar. I have a few questions about it specifically. My frame of reference is the Alcoholics Anonymous program that we often hear about. And so I'm curious to know if there is a similar focus on creating a sort of relapse prevention plan in the Smart Recovery program, and if you've done so.
Smart Recovery teaches tools to avoid relapse prevention. It talks about building and maintaining motivation for sobriety, for instance. Another aspect of it is learning how to deal with triggers, what may be triggers, and how to effectively deal with those cognitively. In addition, there's tremendous amount of training involved in managing thoughts and emotions and behaviors, which, and another part of the program concerns with living a balanced life. So diet, exercise, meditation, mindfulness training. So the entire program, I think, has to do with relapse prevention.
Okay, and you mentioned triggers. What triggers were you able to identify through the SMART program, and how have you set forth to address those particular triggers you identified?
Well, the triggers would be stress. For example, at the time of the accident, my stress was dealing with illnesses in my family, and I didn't have obviously the coping mechanism at the time, and I was using alcohol to help me cope with those stressors in my life. So the cognitive behavior therapy and all the tools that are involved with the SMART help train individuals on how to deal successfully without alcohol these stressors that may occur in their life.
Okay. And does the SMART program have any equivalent to a sponsor like AA? Is there somebody you can reach out to if you need?
There isn't an official sponsor, but there are other members. Actually, when you're talking with members in the support group or members do online meetings, you can talk with people online and other members in the court recovery community of any concerns you may have or that may develop over time.
Do you have any pending criminal convictions or arrests that the board is unaware of?
I do not.
Okay. And The incidents involved, as you've been very forthcoming about in today's proceedings and in your petition packet, involved 2 alcohol-related driving incidents. What assurances can you give to the board that this past conduct is behind you?
There was only one alcohol-related driving incident. So that was the DUI with the evasion. The hit and run was not alcohol-related. And they were behind me.
I'm sorry, the hit and run was not what?
Was not alcohol-related.
Go ahead, continue.
This was the absolute most horrible experience and time in my life. And every day, I am grateful that it is behind me. And by working with the tools that I've been taught and I help teach others, it helps keep that behind me. And I see a therapist. If I need a therapist, I have an ability to do that. I'm active in the recovery community, both here and online, and that really helps. In addition to helping others, it helps me at the same time. I've made a concerted effort to incorporate mindfulness training, meditation, and diet exercise that I didn't have before, not to the degree that I have now. So those are extremely important in my life, and they will always be important in my life. And I have never planned to go back to that horrible existence that I had, where I was relying on alcohol, and I wasn't able to manage my feelings and thoughts and emotions without depending on alcohol.
Thank you very much. I have no further questions for Dr. Smith at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Eisenberg. Dr. Smith, I want to be sure I did not miss this. What is your sobriety date?
It was December 1st, 2015.
So on or about the time you entered the 28-day treatment program?
Yes.
All right, thank you. All right, questions from the board. Dr. Paris?
Well, I would just like to say best wishes, Dr. Smith, in your continued recovery, and thank you for all your efforts in complying with your, in success in complying with your probationary terms, and I have no questions.
Thank you.
Dr. McLean?
Good afternoon, Dr. Smith. I have a couple of questions. Thank you, Your Honor. You spoke about addictive behavior and studying that. Do you feel that you have an addiction to alcohol?
No, I do not have an addiction to alcohol currently. I did in the past, but I do not have addictive behaviors to alcohol. It's possible that I have pathways in my brain that may be more susceptible to alcohol than others, but from a scientific perspective, that hasn't been shown. So I haven't had an urge to drink since I left the Rehabilitation Center in 2015. And I've been sober since, and without any urge whatsoever to drink alcohol.
Thank you. It's correct that you attended a 9-month DUI program and a 28-day residential treatment program, correct?
Yes, it is.
That being said, if you can turn to BCE 000003, the second page of your petition for early termination, do you feel that you appropriately filled out question number 6 that asks this question: have you ever been or are you currently under observation or treatment for mental disorders, alcoholism, or drug addiction?
No, have you ever been? No, I talked to my attorney about that, and she said, and I mentioned that I have been under treatment for addiction to alcohol. And she said that if that question comes up, then make the correction before the board. So no, that is not correct.
What is the correct answer?
Yes, I have.
Okay,
Been
thank you.
Mhm.
Just a couple other things. What is the number of patients you're currently seeing either per day or per week?
Oh, I take a lot of time with patients, so it's say 45 to 50.
And what was the number of patients that you saw prior to this conviction and restrictions?
I would say in the range of 70 plus, sometimes 80.
Okay, thank you. I have no further questions at this time.
Thank you. Mr. Rufino, any questions?
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Azzolini?
Thank you, Your Honor. I do have several questions. Dr. Smith, I commend you for your efforts in recovery. In regards to your probation ending on October 31st, 2021, should we provide a reduction or an early termination of your probation, that would likely not come for at least another 30 days. And have you explored how long it would take for you to be reinstated on some of these panels, the insurance company?
No, I haven't looked into the insurance company about reinstatement. And what was the prior question? I'm sorry?
Well, my understanding is your main reason for requesting an early termination of probation is to be reinstated on the panels for the insurance company. Is that correct?
That's one of the reasons, yes.
And so, but you just stated that you have not looked into what the procedure or what the time frame is for that. Is that correct?
No, I haven't looked into that. My wife does all the. My wife is my office manager, and she does all of the paperwork and the insurance work she did before. So I rely on her for that. Working with insurance companies. She's also an acupuncturist, and so we've been in practice together since I opened my private practice here in 1986.
Okay, and so I do not take insurance, so I'm not able to testify to this, but maybe one of the other board members can. But it's my understanding that it would take at least 6 months or so to apply and be reviewed and possibly be reinstated. And so I'm just looking at a time frame here that your probation may as well be over.
Right. My probation ends in 2022.
22 or is it 21? We have a
22.
typo here. I'm looking at October 31st, 2021 on the.
Actually, it ends in June of 2022. June 24th on page BCE 0005.
All right, I'm referencing a memorandum from the state of California from Tammy Pito on November 19th, 2020 that states will expire on October 31st. Sorry, that's your license. My mistake there. I apologize.
Okay.
That's your license. Okay. I just wanted to see what your plan is if you say you don't have one yet, on when you were going to reapply and what the procedure is for that and how that would substantively change
as soon as my license,
practice.
As soon as my license is, my probation is terminated, I intend to apply back to the insurance companies for reinstatement as a preferred.
Is there any other reason why you want your probation terminated?
Unable to visit family that maybe not near a testing center. My father lives in Shoup, Idaho, which is a really small town in Idaho, and it's away from all testing centers. And I've been hesitant to go and visit for any period of time because of the distance. In addition, I'm an active scuba diver, and I can't take island trips anymore. because I would be away from a testing center. So having to be close to a testing center is, on a personal level, has affected me. And so I would like more freedom to do the hobbies that I enjoy and that I've enjoyed in the past.
Okay. And if those were the reasons, would it make your life easier if the testing was not as frequent?
Testing was not as frequent. You know, I would like to just have no testing whatsoever, but yeah, that's my objective, is to, you know, I'm still, if it was not as frequent, then I would still be on probation. So my objective here with this hearing is to terminate early my probation.
Okay, I have no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Din?
I have no questions.
All right, Dr. Adams.
I have no questions, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Mr. Pulio?
No questions, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. All right, so Dr. Smith, is there anything that comes to mind that, or that may have come to mind since being asked questions by Mr. Eisenberg or the panel that you'd like to mention now?
No, I would like to emphasize my dedication to my patients, and not only to my patients in providing quality care, but to my community as of being a provider of rehabilitation services. I'm also a volunteer for the Teachers Organization. I'm a member and a board member of the California Teachers Association for speakers of other languages. I am also a volunteer in the community for the Santa Barbara Writers, which is a group of mostly veterans that do charitable work on an annual basis. So I do a lot of community service. In addition to working in my community, I'm a volunteer in the chiropractic profession. I am the Part 1 examination chairman for the International Academy of Neuromuscular and Skeletal Medicine. So I help with creating tests, checking tests for accuracy, test delivery, scheduling applicants to take their examinations. Prior it was called the Orthopedics, or American Chiropractic Orthopedics Association, which I was a diplomat of the American Board of Chiropractic Orthopedics, and that has turned into the Academy for Neuromuscular Skeletal Medicine. So it gives me a great rewards doing that, and I feel really happy to be able to give back to my profession by working for that organization. So in conclusion, I'm dedicated to my patients, I'm dedicated to my community, and I'm dedicated to my profession.
All right, thank you for that statement and additional information. Any other questions from the board based on what Dr. Smith has just provided us? If so, speak up now. You may remain silent. All right, anything else, Mr. Eisenberg?
Nothing further for Dr. Smith. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you very much. So with that said, this hearing on this matter has concluded and it is submitted. We are off the record.
Great. Thank you very much for all your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Dr. Smith. And have a good afternoon.
You too.
Hello?
Your Honor, this is the moderator. I have promoted Brian Cromwell and James Turner for the next case.
Okay, stand by just 1 second. I'm gonna open up their file.
Mr. Crumblehome, we can see you and we can hear you.
This is a good thing.
And Mr. Turner, if we could do a microphone check and a camera check for you as well.
Oh.
And will Dr. Foreman be participating?
What was that?
Thank you. It was rather garbled, but my understanding is Dr. Korn will not be participating.
Correct.
All right. And you probably want to do a microphone check with whoever that was that just spoke. I assume that was Mr. Turner. It was extremely hard to hear. Are you there, Mr. Turner?
It looks like he is still here. Mr. Turner, can you unmute your microphone? I do not know if he can hear me. Mr. Turner, I've unmuted your microphone. Can you hear me?
Yes, now I can hear you. You should be able to hear me now. You're just unmuted.
Okay, yes, I can hear you. And do you have a camera?
Yes.
If we could activate that as well. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Sure. Pretty light in here.
Your Honor, it looks like everybody's in attendance.
Okay, I'm looking. I still don't see Mr. Turner, but maybe I'm limited by the size of my screen. Give me 1 second here. I'm sure he's here.
Yeah, I saw him and then he went away again.
Well, I'm still showing up on the panel there.
Yes, I see you. I had to scroll across to see him.
Okay.
All the way to the left, all the way to my left is where I am.
All right. I see him. And Mr. Crumblehome, you want to test your microphone? I just want to be sure. Someone came through really garbled, and before we get started, I want to see if we can hear you.
Okay, testing 1, 2, 3.
I think it was you. You're a bit garbled, but we may be able to work our way through it. Well, why don't we talk a bit and see, and then I'll ask the court reporter if she thinks it'll work. But were you online earlier when I provided instructions to the earlier participants?
Yes, I was. Yes.
Okay, you have any questions for me?
No, not at the moment. I have a presentation to make.
Okay.
Your Honor, he sounds really garbled to me too. This is the court reporter.
Yes, Mr. Crumblehome,
To try that.
do you have a cell phone that you could perhaps connect as well?
No, I have a landline. I live just 10 miles across from Port Angeles, Washington, and there's no cell phone service here. But I have a landline that I could use.
That will not work because that will not link up. We do the landline and the computer. Let me think for a moment. We can try it. As long as the landline is not on a speaker, we shouldn't hopefully get any feedback. And since it's, we can try it. Let's give it a shot.
I'll hold it to my ear. So I dial this number, right?
The call-in number, yes.
1-415-655-0001.
And you'll probably need to mute his microphone as well.
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, Mr. Crumbleholm, can you quickly verify the number, the first 6 digits of the number you're calling from?
First 6 digits?
Yeah, the first 6 digits of your phone number that you're calling from?
39250 is the area code.
I found you.
391.
Okay, I'm going to unmute your phone. All right, let's try now speak.
Okay, can you hear me?
As I was afraid of, we're going to have an echo. So let's do this. Can you turn the speaker on your computer all the way down?
Okay. Can you
Now
hear
let's
me
try
now?
this again. We can hear you now. I do not hear an echo. How does that sound to everybody else? Your Honor, how does it sound to you?
He sounds fine to me. And is he able to hear? You can hear me? Is that fine?
Yes, so I have his phone opened up in our attendee panel. Since it's a landline, I cannot promote that line to a panelist. So I will leave him unmuted for the duration of the hearing.
Okay, I think that's fine as long as he can hear all of us, and seems like we can hear him. I think we're okay.
Okay.
And you can hear us just fine, correct, Mr. Crumbleholm?
Yes, I can hear you fine.
Excellent. Yeah, he sounds nice and clear.
Well, that's a good thing.
I agree. All right, looks like we are ready to proceed.
Okay, then I shall start.
No, stand by. And by proceed, I mean I'm ready. I'm about to go on the record and start the hearing.
Okay.
But before I do, I have one or two preliminary questions, at least one for Mr. Eisenberg to see if he has an answer, because I don't. So I'm not afraid to admit I have never had a hearing on a approval of a CE course before. Have you, Mr. Eisenberg? I'm not sure if you would have questions or would make some sort of presentation. Obviously, there's no criminal history to go over, so maybe you can educate us all since I can't.
That's correct, Your Honor. You and I are in the same boat on this. This is new to me as well. I have never encountered a CE appeal to this extent, and I do not have any specific questions. What I would suggest, and I think is would be appropriate, I can certainly introduce the background in terms of the timeline of events that occurred and how we arrived here today. But ultimately, I think this will be a matter that the board and Your Honor will discuss in closed session based on scope of practice per the CCRs.
Okay, sounds good, and I agree. So I intend to approach it just like any other standard hearing. The parties may call witnesses, and we will hear from them, and then they can make a closing argument, and then we'll go into we'll consider it in deliberations with all the other cases. Does that sound right to you, Mr. Turner?
Yes, it does.
All right, sounds good.
Would you like me to proceed, Your Honor?
No, I thought there was a question. I'm going to call the case first, so stand by. All right, so let's go on the record.
Does that mean I can start, Mr. Chairman?
Nope. Everyone just stand by.
Okay.
Just want to be sure we have a court reporter who's taking down what we are stating, and we're on the record. I've been given the thumbs up, so I'm going to call the case now officially. We are on the record to hear our fourth matter today, and that is the matter of the request for a CE course appeal hearing filed by ChiroCECredits.com. The Office of Administrative Hearings number for this matter is 2020110-225. May I have the appearance of the Deputy Attorney General, please?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Joshua Eisenberg, Deputy Attorney General, appearing in this matter on behalf of Executive Officer Robert Julio.
Thank you very much. And may I have appearance of the individual that is representing ChiroCECredits.com?
Yes, Brian Crumbleholm. I'm the Managing Director of ChiroCECredits.com.
Thank you. And you are represented by counsel, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And if your attorney could please state their name for the record.
My name is James S. Turner. I'm participating on behalf of Mr. Crumbleholm.
Okay, thank you very much. So how I intend to proceed on this matter, we've talked a little bit off the record about the best approach. What I intend to do, Mr. Turner, is allow you to make an opening presentation if you choose to. You may then present whatever evidence you choose, either through documents you have already submitted, or you may call witnesses. Give me just one moment, please. So it looks like you've already submitted a group of documents that I believe constitutes 21 pages of documents. Is that correct, Mr. Turner?
Yes, it is. And I do want to say that the way we had planned to proceed is I'm mainly going to introduce Mr. Crumblehope and then at the end perhaps make a closing summation. But basically, he will be presenting in narrative fashion. I can start him with some questions, but basically he has the information that needs to be presented.
Okay, sounds good. So what I'm hearing is you're not going to do an opening. You have an exhibit that you have already provided. The document I described, I will mark as Exhibit 1 for identification at this point, and then you will call Mr. Crumbleholm to testify as a witness and then make a closing. Is that correct?
That's correct. The closing is contingent. We'll see if there's anything that needs to be clarified or wrapped up at the end, but basically, Mr. Crumbleholm will be the one that makes puts the information into the record.
Sounds good. So rather than ask counsel to do this, or Mr. Eisenberg, I'm going to mark the document that you submitted, the appeal hearing documents that I've described as Exhibit 1, and I'm going to admit them into evidence as Exhibit 1 unless there is an objection. Anyone have an objection to Exhibit 1 being admitted into evidence?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, then Exhibit 1 is admitted. All right, so Mr. Turner, you ready to proceed? If so,
yes.
you may call
Yes,
your
we're ready. Call Mr. Crumbleholm.
All right, Mr. Crumbleholm, if you would please raise your right hand.
Yes.
Give me just one moment. I want to bring you up on my screen.
Oh.
No, you're fine. Just stand by. There you are. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you provide today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you very much. Would you please state and spell both your first and last name for the record?
My first and last name, Brian Crumbleholm.
Please spell them.
I'm sorry?
Would you please spell them for the record?
Oh,
Spell
okay. Yeah, BrianCrombleme.
Thank you very much. You may proceed when ready, Mr. Turner.
Mr. Crumbleholm, would you please give a narration of what you are attempting to do and why you would like to have this these courses recognized by the State of California Chiropractic Board?
Okay, Mr. Turner, I'll start, if that's okay.
Yes, you go ahead and start.
All right. I think it's still morning, so good morning. And thank you for setting this hearing up for us and allowing us to present our case as to why we feel the board should approve a neuroimmunology course for chiropractors so that they can earn continuing education credits. By requesting this formal hearing, we're not being adversarial, as we would like to work with you to help chiropractors be better informed about vaccinations by using our course to study the neuroimmune system function as it relates to empirical and mechanistic perspectives in health and disease. Unfortunately, Dr. Ted Coren, who presents the course after many years of research, is unable to join us today, as you're aware. By way of introduction, I have been a chiropractic patient for about 25 years and rely solely on my chiropractor's care and knowledgeable advice to stay healthy. My primary business also offers chiropractors a digital patient education system for their waiting areas so as to visually educate patients using 400 short TV slideshows about their natural chiropractic care. So my day-to-day life is focused on education for chiropractors. While I also hold the responsibility of managing director of Chiro CE Credits, who, as you know, is the applicant for CE approval by the board, I'm also a member of the general public, and I'm here today on the assumption that your board sees its work as vital in the service of the public's health interests. We think it is also very important for you to know that our neuroimmunology course has been approved in at least 40 states so that chiropractors can earn 12 continuing education credits as part of maintaining their annual license requirements in the state, and more approvals are coming. I believe all board members present today have copies of our continuing education approval application and have reviewed it. As the one submitting the application and paying your fees, I would like to make it clear that our application was based on your continuing education course approval requirements as stated in your regulations. On page 4, clause G1 of those regulations, you state, courses approved by the board shall be limited to several subject areas. Some of those stated areas are philosophy of chiropractic, which to us means life is intelligent, neurology, which is the nervous system, physiology, which is the science of life, and toxicology, which is the science of poisons. All of these topics are applicable to our neuroimmunology course, so we felt we met your requirements. However, when I questioned your denial of our course, I was told, and I quote from the email, that the board's CE regulations do not authorize the board to grant approval for CE courses that are focused on vaccines and vaccinations, and that is why you and your colleague are unable to find a reference to this subject in our regulations. To do so would be a violation of the regulations. Well, to me, that seems contradictory. You can't put vaccines and vaccinations in the requirements because it would be a violation of your regulations. Most puzzling. Anyway, had your CE course requirements clearly stated that the board is unable to approve CE courses that focus on vaccines and vaccinations, we would not have wasted our time and money to apply. Therefore, we feel we have been misled. As I stated earlier, I have been under chiropractic care for many years. My chiropractor has taught me much about health and wellness, and so in recent years, when I feel unwell, I see my chiropractor first and not a medical doctor. Having said that, permit me to give you a couple of real examples of this that I have experienced in my life. For several years, I suffered from gout, which, as you probably know, can be very painful. And with each gout attack, the medical doctor prescribed indomethacin to reduce the pain and inflammation. But two of the published side effects of that prescribed drug is gastrointestinal problems and a high risk of a fatal heart attack or a stroke, even without prior symptoms of a heart attack or stroke. On one occasion, when seeing my chiropractor for a regular check, I mentioned my gout and the gastro problems, and she suggested I have a live blood test or analysis offered at a nearby health food store. When the licensed technician, who did not know me, took a tiny blood sample and put it under his microscope, his first words to me were, "You must suffer from gout." I was astounded and asked him how he knew. He said, your blood is very acidic and therefore will create those uric acid crystals that attach to your big toe and ankles to cause all that pain. But he said, it is easy to fix by taking a teaspoon of chlorophyll daily in water, which will alkalize your blood. That was 12 years ago, and I've never had a gout attack since. Likewise with others whom I've shared my story with. The very important thing here, ladies and gentlemen of the board, from my perspective at least, is that the medical approach to health prescribes drugs that are based on the symptoms as described by the patient. Chiropractors and other natural health care practitioners make their recommendations by getting at the cause of health problems. The indomethacin drug only reduces the gout symptoms of pain and inflammation, but does not cure it, whereas chlorophyll gets to the cause of the pain and inflammation by alkalizing the blood and therefore curing gout. Just one more example for you of symptom-based medicine versus cause-based. Again, I was not feeling well following an out-of-town trip to visit my sons and grandchildren. I went to see my chiropractor. She could find nothing wrong. A couple of days later, I woke up with a severe rash on my chest and overall pain. I went to the walk-in medical clinic where the MD took one look at my chest and said, you have shingles and you will be in pain for 6 to 7 weeks and could have permanent scars from the rash. The MD said, I will give you a prescription for pain, but it likely won't do any good. I did not fill the prescription. Instead, I emailed my chiropractor when I got home, since it was a Friday evening. She replied the next morning suggesting I get some Immune 7 to boost my immune system and put tea tree oil on the rash. Immune 7 is a combination of 6 organic mushrooms that are proven to boost our immune systems without any side effects. It is made locally and shipped all over the world. Within 4 days, I repeat, 4 days, all pain was gone. The rash had greatly subsided, and when it went completely, there were no scars.
Excuse me.
Why do I tell you all this to make our case for approving our course for CE credits?
Am I just one second, Mr. Crumblehome?
Yes?
Am I just one moment? Someone had spoke up, and I'm not sure who. Did someone have a question?
Yeah, excuse me, Your Honor. I didn't. I just wanted to briefly interrupt to mention that I'm not sure that the personal anecdotes are focused on the issue here.
I'm just getting to that now.
Okay. Thank you very much. So if you could focus on the specific issue, we'd appreciate it, Mr. Crumblehome. Thank you for that, Dr. Paris.
As I was saying, why do I tell you all this to make our case for approving our course for CE credits? My chiropractor, like all chiropractors, takes the time and incurs the cost to learn as much as they can about all health conditions that may affect their patients so they can advise and prepare them on the kinds of questions they should ask when they see their medical doctor. Otherwise, they go blindly into the medical world, which is always symptom-based, especially when dealing with chronic health conditions. I hope you can see and understand that a chiropractor is a patient's portal when entering the healthcare world. I believe chiropractors are recognized by the government as primary healthcare providers. Therefore, they must have all health information possible to make sure their patients are fully informed and therefore better equipped to make decisions regarding their own personal health. Vaccinations are a controversial topic in the public domain and have been for a long time. As you all know, there is currently a health crisis in the world, and there is much talk about vaccines and vaccinations. Enormous fear and panic has been brought on by the media and medical officials to the point most of the general public do not understand what is going on.
So, Mr. Crumblehome, I'm going to jump in again once more. I'm having some difficulty connecting what you're saying now to your request. How does this relate to your request that the hearing
Furthermore, Your Honor,
that the
Your
CED
Honor, this is Dr. Azzolino and Mr. Crumblehouse. I appreciate your sentiments and your statements, but I'd also like to let you know that we all are chiropractors on the board, with the exception of one public member. So
I'm sorry,
we
you just
really are
cut
not-
out on me. You just cut out on me.
Hang on, everyone. So, Mr. Turner, I believe it's your phone that we're hearing. If you could mute your
Yes,
microphone.
it's muted. It's gone.
All right.
Also, I had attempted to say something during that last exchange, if that would be possible.
Well, stand by. We're going to circle back to everyone. And I still hear your telephone.
Yeah, I'm gonna fix that. I'm sorry about that.
All right, let's go off the record. So we're going to wait until you get that resolved. What I would recommend is you can simply mute your microphone until you have something to say.
Okay, I can do that.
Probably the easier approach.
Well, I don't understand why it's doing that. Hold on 1 second here, and I think that's done.
Well, I can still hear you, so I don't think it's done.
No, I mean I unplugged the phone, so I don't think it'll ring any further.
All right, so let's try that approach. So what I'm going to do, because multiple people were speaking at once. First of all, while we're still off the record, I do want to remind the witness that I'm not certain that what he's saying is, from what I can understand, directly relevant to the request that the course be approved. So what I'm going to recommend is you either summarize or try to find a way to focus what you're saying or connect what you're saying directly to the request that the course be approved. So I'm going to say that. Then when we go back online, I'm going to go to Dr. Azzolino, have him restate the statement that he made, and then to the extent you have something that you want to add, Mr. Turner, we will do that. I just want to be sure we proceed in order.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
All right. So let's go back on the record. All right, so just before going off the record, we have some technical difficulties that I hope we have resolved. Dr. Azzolino, you were making a statement that I don't believe was heard by everyone. I certainly didn't. It may have been a question, but would you please repeat what you had to say?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Crumblehouse and Mr. Turner, I appreciate your sentiments here, but I would like to remind you that we are all chiropractors on the board, so we do not need a history lesson or any praise for being chiropractors. Thank you for that. And we only have one public member, so I would just encourage you to get to the substantive matter and not describe what chiropractic has done or continues to do, because it really has very little bearing on what the issue is agendized. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And before you proceed any further, Mr. Crumblehome, I'm going to ask you, Mr. Turner, if you had something additional to state, and if not, I'm going to ask you to ask your witness the next question.
Yeah, I do have a comment I want to add at this point and try to focus on why this testimony has gone the way that it has up until now. It is our view from the responsibility of the Chiropractic Practice Act and the interaction of chiropractors with the public, that since they are the first encounter that the public has with the medical system for large numbers of the public, one of the responsibilities is to be able to be knowledgeable about how to help people deal with questions that they raise. The purpose of the course that Mr. Crumblehorse is seeking approval for is to provide a course in which questions about vaccines that are being raised by the public can be focused in a way that they can, in fact, discuss them usefully with whoever their medical practitioners are, or their chiropractors, or whatever. The purpose of the testimony that he's giving is to create to point out that the requirement that the chiropractors be able to help the patients learn what's going on is what the course is being addressed to. Now I can stop there and then ask my next question, or if you have something you would want me to do other than that, I can do that.
Well, there's nothing else I need you to do, but I'll just reiterate my concern was that I didn't understand his response to be consistent with with the way you just described it to be. But the bottom line is we can move forward. You can ask him a question, but I do want his response to focus on the course that he would like us to approve.
Okay, Mr. Crumblehome, you've heard this discussion, and you understand that the goal for the rest of your testimony is to explain or to describe how the course contributes to the ability of the chiropractor to perform this function. Could you just focus your attention on that? And I will reserve for myself the responsibility of interrupting you if you are straying from that in a way that I think isn't staying focused. Others, I'm sure, will do the same, but I will try to keep you on track on that. So, Mr. Crumblehose, why don't you go forward with how your course helps the practitioner help their patients understand the issues you're raising in the course?
Well, thank you. As I said earlier, or at the opening, we followed the rules and regulations set out by the board to get.
Mr. Crumblehose, that's not relevant to the discussion here. I think the discussion here is that you have the opportunity now to specifically say what your course offers that should be recognized by the board. And the premise here is to persuade the board that it's a useful course. Whatever the statements were made in terms of the rules that you followed are behind us now. We're at the point where you now can be heard on the substance of what it is that you want to talk about with your course. So if you could do that, that would be very helpful.
Your Honor, I'm sorry. This is Deputy Attorney General Joshua Eisenberg. I'd like to interject here just a bit. Again, I think we're missing the focus of these proceedings with respect to the actual course. It's not about usefulness of the course. BCE 20 may be our guide in this particular matter as the specific basis. There was a specific basis for denial of the course per the California Code of Regulations at Title 16, Section 302, Sub 4, Sub A. And I think that's really the gravamen of today's hearing is, does Mr. Crumblehome have a direct response to the board's basis for its denial? Not about the usefulness of the course, not about whether chiropractors are the first line of healthcare defense. There was a specific basis for denial here, so I think it's important for the board panel members that Mr. Crumblehome directly address the specific basis for denial and why that's not, in fact, an appropriate basis for denial.
Okay, so would you, I understand what you just said. Yes.
So thank you for that, Mr. Eisenberg. I appreciate it. And I am looking at BCE page 20. And it appears to me that the specific reason stated, or they cite California Code of Regulations 302 sub 4A, and it says a chiropractic licensee may not penetrate tissues of human beings, therefore this material is not appropriate for continuing education credit and has been denied. So that's a specific area that you believe it's important for them to focus on because that's the basis for a determination. Correct, Mr. Eisenberg?
That's correct, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
And then let me direct a question to Mr. Crumblehome. Mr. Crumblehome, in what manner does your course deal with penetrating the skin? Is there anything about penetrating the skin? Are you teaching people how to penetrate the skin? Is there anything about penetrating the skin in the course that you're proposing?
Absolutely not.
If you could go on
reference to that whatsoever.
And if you could go on now and...
I'm sorry, I missed that last part.
You want me to repeat that?
You said nothing whatsoever about penetrating the skin in the course.
That's right. There's no reference to that whatsoever.
Why don't you expand on that just slightly?
Okay, be sure that you speak one at a time, please.
I'm sorry?
Speak one at a time, he said.
Stand by.
Okay.
My instructions are to be sure that you speak one at a time. I believe the pending question to you, Mr. Crumblehome, is can you please expand upon your response?
Okay. The complete topic of our course is to educate chiropractors about vaccines and vaccinations. That's it.
Well, how does that require, I'm sorry. Does that require
It makes no reference to penetrating the skin or telling chiropractors to exempt their patients from vaccination. That's not the intent of the course whatsoever. It's just to allow chiropractors to educate themselves in a course given by a highly regarded chiropractor who spent years researching the information and presents it in the course to educate chiropractors or give them more information and education about vaccinations so that they can counsel their patients more professionally and with valid information so as to help the patients make healthcare or decisions regarding their healthcare themselves.
And if I could jump in here, Mr. Turner, I'm going to ask one or two questions just because I'm a layperson here, although I'm the judge. So, Mr. Crumblehome, if a chiropractor may not engage in tissue penetration in terms of their practice, why do you think it's important for them to advise patients on vaccinations if they can't do them, by my understanding?
Well, it's simply if I was a chiropractor and a patient asked me about vaccinations, I would say, I'm sorry, I know nothing about it. So how does that help my patient? I say that respectfully.
No, I understand the question. That's sort of what I'm getting at. Wouldn't, in those circumstances, the chiropractor then refer the patient to someone who has expertise in the field?
Well, that's not the expectation, Your Honor, of chiropractic patients. When they go to their doctor of chiropractic, they ask questions and they expect to get answers because they look upon the chiropractor as their, first place to go for information about health and wellness.
Which ties into the statements that you made earlier about how you rely on your chiropractor and chiropractic care essentially as your primary source of health benefits, for lack of a better term.
Yep.
Okay.
And I tried to point out with my little stories as to how that has been of benefit to me. And what we're trying to do is give chiropractors the tools so they can answer questions and therefore be of benefit to their patients.
I understand. Thank you for that clarification, Mr. Turner.
Yeah. Now, Mr. Crumblehome, that would include potentially also referring them to someone who is an MD. I mean, is that correct?
That is correct.
So that
This is Dr. Ezelino. I'm just, I'm a little confused here on, do we have a format for this hearing? Because I certainly have numerous questions. Can we just give a time limit to this testimony, have an opening statement if this is the opening statement, and then we proceed with questions? Otherwise, okay. I fear that we may be going on for an hour here and not have any substantive outcome.
All right, let me address that. So in terms of the format, I mentioned earlier that I intend to approach this as a standard hearing, and I don't know if that helps anyone who hasn't sat in on those standard hearings. But generally, we allow the party who has the burden to make a opening statement, which they have waived. We then allow them to call witnesses. This is their witnesses. This is their witness. Once the witness finishes making his initial presentation, I will allow the panel members to question the witness. And then at that point, if there are no further witnesses, they have the option to make a closing argument, and then we will adjourn. It does seem that we're taking quite a bit of time, and I do want to be sure that we give the petitioners the full opportunity to provide the evidence that they intend to present, but I don't intend to allow the witness to testify much longer unless there is something substantive that we are going to receive that we haven't thus far. Mr. Turner, do you have an estimate as to how much more time you think you will need?
I don't think it should take much more time. Let me, what I would propose doing now is asking Mr. Crumblehome to just add anything that's not been covered already, and if everything's been covered, just say so. So, Mr. Crumblehome, what is there something else that you want to add at this point, and make it brief, and then we can get questions from the board? I think the most important thing is the questions from the board.
I agree, and Mr. Crumblehome, before you respond, you have 5 minutes.
Oh, it won't take me that long. the whole idea of having the credits for the course that the chiropractors take, this course that we're trying to get approval for, is that most chiropractors, when they take courses, they pay for them, they spend a lot of time learning, and so we feel very strongly that they should get credits, as in the other many states that have approved the course. And with that, I have nothing else to say. Thank you, other than thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Mr. Eisenberg, do you have any questions at this time?
No, Your Honor, you covered my questions, and I think I'll defer to the board members who are the experts in the field.
All right. Thank you very much. So questions from the board. I'll start with Dr. Paris. Do you have questions for this witness?
I do have a few comments to make. Is that okay?
Certainly.
Okay. Well, first, I'd just like to state that, personally, I support higher education in all aspects of healthcare, and especially as we integrate more and more into large healthcare systems and multidisciplinary groups, and we are portal of entry providers. I accept that. I think there's multiple issues here, and one being we were focused on, penetrating the tissues, and I think when the board looks at approving continuing education surrounding things that are outside of our scope of practice, the education can potentially be valuable. But in this case, I fear that this particular class in the sessions, including they sent over the document with all the different sessions and listing the subject matter in their outline. And when I looked for references that would refer to commonly held public health measures and the CDC and departments of public health in the states, there were no references for anything that we would use to support our licensees to align with to afford public protection. And seemingly there were a lot of anti-vaccination statements made, and a number of those. And when I put those all in total, it really appeared to be a very, very unbalanced lecture series, and it appeared to lack any authority in more recent literature, even based off the references that contained a reference from 1921, but no references from 2020 even. And the most concerning thing about the references for this lecture series, the CE event, was that the references were 20 years old at a minimum, and most of those not from generally accepted peer-reviewed scientific journals, et cetera. And I think the main point that I'd like to make right now is that this lack of balance and this somewhat seemingly anti-vaccination rhetoric that it seemed to portray to me personally, really reflects a dangerous position when we're sowing the seeds of doubt, truth, and et cetera, and the rationale for recommendations that we accept in public health and the people that we look to provide, to help us provide protection to, the citizens of California through our licensees. And I also worry that continuing education events like this that are not balanced, they affect the subsequent actions of our licensees and diminishes their effect in protecting the public via their ability to desire to comply with those recommendations. And so I'll leave it there for now. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Crumpleholm, would you like to respond to that briefly?
Well, there are later references, some as recent as 2011, but it's not a topic that's written about with official references. My feeling, quite frankly, is that I think chiropractors are, educated enough and good, upstanding citizens that they can figure out, what is right and what is wrong, their license requirements. I think they can make those decisions on their own. But on this topic, based on the course. So I have nothing else to say on that.
Thank you very much. Dr. McLean, do you have any questions for the witness?
Hi, yes, Your Honor. Just a couple of maybe even just points of clarification. First of all, you mentioned that 40 states have approved this course. Are you saying this course exactly as you have laid it out for us here today?
Yes.
And can you tell me 5 of those states that have approved this?
I was afraid you were going to ask me that. If I can just have a minute, I did.
Okay, you can circle back
I
to
know
that one.
Pennsylvania is one, Ohio is one, Georgia is one, North Carolina is one, New Jersey is one, Idaho is one, Alaska is one.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay.
That's sufficient. Thank you. And so you also mentioned, I'm sorry, I'm now, I don't know if it was you or Mr. Turner, but mentioned the categories to which we do approve courses, i.e. philosophy, physiology, toxicology. In this course, where are you, where in this course does any of this information are you complying with those categories, i.e., is there any physiology? I see a lot about vaccinations and different disease processes, but I don't see anything about the physiology or the toxicology or anything of that nature.
To answer your question, I don't think there is any specific reference to it. Or to those topics.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Ruffino, any questions?
No questions.
Thank you very much. Dr. Azzolino?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Crumblehouse, thank you. I appreciate your passion for this, and I understand this is a very controversial topic in this day and age. But I'm having trouble understanding how teaching this course is germane to the actual practice of chiropractic. In as much as the course may be of benefit to a chiropractor, I don't believe it makes the chiropractor a better practitioner. So please enlighten me on how it is germane to the core practice of chiropractic.
Are you a chiropractor?
I sure am.
Do patients ask you questions?
They sure do. I've been practicing 25 years.
Well,
I only answer questions that I'm an expert in.
That should answer your question then. Patients ask questions. I ask my chiropractor questions, so that's hopefully the answer.
Well, and
Thank
let me
you.
jump in here.
So another question I have is...
And I'm sorry, Dr. Azzolino, stand by 1 second. I want to sort of explain to Dr. Crumbleholm how this process works. Mr. Crumbleholm, so I understand that you're a witness here. You are advocating for a certain cause. This is a type of hearing that I don't think any of us have dealt with in the past, but generally the witness answers questions and does not ask them. So to the extent you are asked a question, if you have the knowledge to respond, and I'm not suggesting you don't, what I would appreciate, particularly as a layperson, is for you to state specifically why you have formed a conclusion or why you believe something is appropriate, rather than asking the questioner what they do, if that makes sense.
It does, Your Honor. This is a first experience for me as well.
Okay, and let me give you an example. So Dr. Azzolino just responded to your questions after you asked him a question. He's not under oath. His responses are not evidence. So it would be inappropriate for the board to even use what he stated in support of or against what you have requested. So what I want you to focus on is, if you're asked a question, to provide a statement based on your knowledge, experience, and/or education that will help us make a determination rather than asking the person who questioned you a question. Make sense?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor.
Appreciate it. You may continue,
So
Dr.
my statement is this, from my experience working with chiropractors, hundreds of them over many years. Patients ask chiropractors questions about their health, and those questions can, run a whole range of things. And so our course is educating chiropractors on a specific and a very controversial topic. There is a tremendous amount of information out there today about vaccinations, some of it good, some of it not good. And so I believe personally, as well as my associates in the business do, that a chiropractor needs to get as much education as he possibly can, and then make his own decisions as to how he communicates that with his patients when asked those questions.
All right, thank you. Next question, Dr. Esolino.
Thank you. Does Dr. Corn have any postdoctorate degrees or specialty in neurology?
That I don't know. He has been a teacher for many years. I think Life University, he's on the faculty there, and I believe Sherman College also for this subject. And so therefore, he certainly has a lot of experience in that regard, which I hope answers the question.
And second question here, in looking at his CV, I also do not see any qualifications for him to teach immunology. Are you aware of any postdoctorate degrees or board certifications in that regard?
Well, we have letters on file from, I believe, Sherman and Life University attesting to him giving courses on neuroimmunology.
Okay, so my questions, let me streamline those. Does he have a degree in neurology, or does he have a degree in immunology?
No, not that I know of. I wish he was here to answer the questions, but he's not.
Okay. And is there a reason why this course is called neuroimmunology when it's very specific to vaccinations?
There's no reason at all. That was the name he gave the course.
Okay, I do believe that's quite misleading, and I just was not sure if there's a reason why you just did not label the name of the course a vaccination course.
Actually, I apologize if I may say this. The course has been relabeled, if that's not the right term. What Dr. Corin did was he changed it just in recent weeks from just neuroimmunology to neuroimmunology and vaccinations. I don't deal with the applications to the various states, so I had forgotten that.
So I understand your reasoning that it is wise for chiropractors to have a good breadth of information because patients ask us questions, but you understand, I would hope, that it is impossible for a chiropractor to be certified in all aspects of health in which a patient may ask a question of, and furthermore, we can't offer continuing education credits to cover every question that a patient may ask of a doctor. Our continuing education credits or approving continuing education courses is specific to the practice of chiropractic and germane to what a chiropractor does on a daily basis and how those skills would lead to improvements in the chiropractor's ability to render care. And furthermore, we must always protect the patients of California. Thank you for your time. I have no further
Okay,
questions.
thank you.
All right, thank you. Dr. Den?
Yes, I have a couple of questions. Do you know if this course has received or been submitted to PACE for approval?
No, it has not.
It hasn't been submitted or it hasn't been approved?
It has not been submitted yet, but the process is ongoing.
It has not been submitted to PACE.
I can't answer that question directly because there is another chiropractor involved, Dr. Guy Annunziata, who is doing that for us.
Okay.
The exact status with PACE, I don't know. I can find it out,
okay.
but I don't know at the moment. I'm sorry.
That's right. And then I want to second Dr. Azzolino's concern with the title of this course. You pointed out that in our regs there is allowances for different categories, and this course, although it's called the study of the neuroimmune system and its function, it doesn't seem like the course is teaching anything about those categories. So that's more of a comment than a question if you wanted to address that.
I'm not a doctor of chiropractic, so I didn't, write the course, so I can't answer that. I'm sorry.
And then I have one more question. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Do you know how many of the references that you listed, I think there's several pages of references in there, are from peer-reviewed sources?
Again,
I mean, I know you probably don't have an exact number, but maybe a percentage.
Probably 20%.
Okay.
And there's some others that have come in since, we made the application, I think, to California in April, was it? I can't even remember now, but March or April of this year. And others have, since been added to that by Dr. Corin, for other state applications.
All right. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right, and Mr. Crumblehome, when you say probably 20%, what is that probability based on? I try to stay away from guesses, and I want to be clear that that's based on some factual information that you have, and if not, feel free to say so. But what do you base the 20%?
Well, I'm just thinking of the 9 pages of references that we submitted with our application, and I can think, there's probably 100 references listed, and of those I can recall, chiropractic journals being in quite a few of them. So, I mean, it is a guess, but it is somewhat educated.
Okay, based on what you stated, I'm going to call that an estimate, since it is based on some facts.
No, that's fair. That's fair, Your Honor. That's what it is.
Thank you.
And Your Honor, I'd just like to, for the record, this is Dr. Azzolino. Just because it's a chiropractic journal does not mean it is a peer-reviewed source. The first 2 pages I've counted 4 peer-reviewed sources. So.
All right, thank you for that, Dr. Azzolino. Any additional questions, Dr. Den?
No further questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Adams?
I have no questions. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Pulio?
No questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Are there any other members of the panel that had additional questions for this witness, something they may have thought of since they've had the opportunity to initially ask questions? If so, now will be your opportunity to speak up. All right, thank you. And Mr. Turner, I assume, well, maybe I shouldn't assume, but your witness has provided couple of narrative responses in addition to responding to questions from the panel. Did you have any other questions that you wanted to pose to the witness?
I have no further questions. I do have a very short closing statement, if that's appropriate, whenever it's ready.
Okay. And before you do that, I'm going to excuse your witness from the witness stand. So, Mr. Krumholm, thank you very much for your testimony this morning. You are excused. If you would like to stay on and observe at this time, you may, but if we were in a courtroom, you would leave the witness stand and go and essentially sit next to your counsel. Understood?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Mr. Turner, if you'd like to provide a closing statement, you may do it now.
Thank you, Your Honor. The core question at the moment is that Mr. Krumholz has been trying to figure out, he applied in what he thought was the proper way to apply, and a number of things have been said by more board members here that were not cited as reasons for turning down the application. I would suggest that if the board does not want to accept the application as is, that when it writes the reasons for it, it lays out some of the things that were said here today, if those are the reasons that they apply, that they use to apply to, so that we can put this in a more organized legal process, so that we can look at whatever the concerns are that the board has. And I would assume, I haven't talked to Mr. Krumholz after this testimony yet, but I would assume that the company would want to come back and apply to meet the any objections that the board might have. So if that could be laid out in a systematic way, right now, what Mr. Krumholz understands as the issue is that the board does not, since chiropractors aren't allowed to pierce the skin, the course is, by virtue of that fact alone, unacceptable. And then a series of other points were made here that expanded that, and there was no indication of that when Mr. Krumholz applied. So there's a business that tries to work to educate chiropractors on all kinds of things, been around for quite a while. It does many, many things, of which this is just one. And so if the board has very specific concerns about this course, as they seem to indicate in the questions, or at least some of them did, that be laid out in a clear enough way that Mr. Krumholz can evaluate it and decide whether or not the course that he wants to present here is in fact a doable course under the California rules. We think it is. My review of it, I think it is. We'd like to at least make that have that opportunity to make a response in a meaningful way to the kinds of concerns that were raised, if those are the reasons that end up being why the course is not accepted, or as it was done in more than 40 other states, is accepted. So that's the primary idea that we'd like to leave the board with and to think about, and hopefully work in a way that we can get a situation on the record in California where chiropractors can have the option to choose to take a course of this kind that sets out this kind of information, with the premise being that they would then be able to help their clients who ask questions about vaccination in a more fulsome way than they currently are able to do. That's the basic premise here. So if the board does not accept the course, laying it out in detail why they don't accept it, that would allow the company to decide whether or not it can, in fact, reapply in a way that complies with the board's rules. That's my final statement.
All right, thank you very much for that. And with that said, the matter is submitted and we are off the record. All right, thank you very much. And I do have a question of the board while we are off the record. Sometimes the board would like for the court reporter to stand by during deliberations in case there is a need for a readback. In my 6 years experience doing this, I've yet to have a readback, but that doesn't mean that it might not be necessary in certain cases, including this one. Would you like the court reporter to stand by during deliberations in case we need a readback, or are you fine with my releasing the court reporter?
This is Dr. Parris. I'm fine with you releasing the court reporter, and if any of the other board members have an objection to that, I'll let them speak up now. Thank you.
All right. Okay, based on the fact that I haven't heard anything, it sounds like the board is fine with my releasing the court reporter. Certainly before you go, I'm going to need to have the stop times and estimated page numbers, Ms. Berryhill, whenever you are ready.
Okay, on the number one, Udachi, or I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. I have a stop. Yeah, I have a stop time of 9:47 and 10 pages.
All right.
And the Farrell case was 9:50 to 10:40 was the stop time. 25 pages.
Okay.
And then in the Smith case, stop time was 11:41. 15 pages. And on the Crumble home, 12:46 and 25 pages.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay.
Don't think we need you for anything else, Ms. Berryhill. We appreciate your patience. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you very much. You have a good afternoon too.
Thank you.
All right, so at this point, I'm going to turn it back over to the moderator in terms of whether or not we are taking a break and how you're going to handle closed session. I believe when I rebooted my computer, I heard that you had set up something in particular for that process. So right now, I'm just going to serve as a scroll, take notes, find out what your determinations are, and I'll let you take the lead, Ms. Jones.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yes, for closed session today, we will be utilizing the private room that WebEx provides. So it will take all members that I identify into a private room, leaving the open session open. Nobody outside the private room will be able to hear your discussions, but it will leave me available to staff in the attendee list so that if they were to run into technical difficulties, they could quickly just promote me to a panelist and it would bring me into the room environment where you're at so that I could help with any technical issues and then I could leave again. So with that, I will turn it back over to EO Paleo for a moment.
And really quickly, how do we get into the private room? Are we moved there? Do I need to go someplace different?
No, that's something that I will handle. It should be seamless on your end.
Okay, thank you very much. And thank you as well, Mr. Eisenberg.
Thank you, Your Honor, and thank you, panel members. I'll take my leave now.
All right, have a good afternoon.
Thank you. You too, Your Honor.
Your Honor, if you don't mind, we have two agenda items. The following closed session, there announcements. Oh no, I'm sorry. The 8 and 9 public comment for items not on the agenda and future agenda items. Those should only take a few minutes, so that people don't have to wait around for the board to come back online. We'd like to do those before you go into closed session. So if you wouldn't mind waiting maybe 5 more minutes or so before we go into closed session. And
I don't mind at all.
We'll probably want to take a break anyways, so we'll probably want to work that into.
Okay, so do you want me to leave and come back at a certain time or just mute my microphone and stand by?
Dr. Paris, I'll defer to you on that.
What are our choices?
Well, we could go into closed session at a certain time. Let's see, what time is it? It's 12:51 right now. I imagine we can finish items 8 and 9 before 1 o'clock. If you, the board may want to take a quick break, and so we could go back into closed session at 1:15 or something like that.
I know that some of our board members were running a little behind right now. Why don't we go through 8 and 9, and then we'll take a quick bio break, maybe 5-10 minutes, and then we'll come back and do closed session.
Okay, so
objection to that?
Yeah, that works for me. So what I'll do is I'll stand by, let you handle your business. I may turn my camera off and do some work, but I'll leave the microphone on, and once I know we're ready, I'll come back. That work?
That sounds good. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Okay, so Dr. Paris, you can now go to
so
8 and 9.
let's move to agenda item number 8, public comment for items not on the agenda. And moderator, can we open that up, please?
This is the moderator. I have opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to make a public comment for items not on the agenda, you can click on the Q&A icon on your screen, type "I would like to make a comment" into the Ask field, and then submit that to all panelists. We will pause for a brief moment to allow time for submission of requests. We have a request for comment from Marcus Strutz. Marcus, you will have 2 minutes to make your comment. I have unmuted your microphone and you may begin now.
Thank you so much. Interesting meeting. First, I'd like to thank you, Robert, for that. That was very nice of you because you knew I was waiting. I appreciate that. But I'd like to welcome Larry Adams to the family. So how about that? A colleague of mine with Sergio as well. So it's good to have Larry on the board. He's going to be an excellent addition. So that's fun. For the next agenda item, one of the things I've been doing with Back to Chiropractic CE is we've been giving Zoom meetings for distance video conferencing or synchronous learning. And it originally was looked at a kind of a sidestep. And now what's happened is Zoom has become this incredible learning tool that I would have never imagined. And so I invite you to go to our website, which is backtochiropractic.net, join in a meeting. And I've been sending the emails to most of you with all the testimonials, but the doctors are loving it for every possible reason. Short of handshakes, hugs, and free adjustments, they are thrilled to death with the learning experience. And many have said, I've never learned like this before, including the technique that we weren't so sure was going to be successful, but we've put many hours into getting camera angles down, and it's just been very, very successful. So would like to see if we can expedite the CE rules and regulations changes so Zoom is just seamless and does not go away after COVID goes away. If there's a way to have the board approve that by a simple vote, or to expedite the great job that Natalie is doing in terms of getting the rules and regulations changed, it would be fantastic if we could get that pushed through even quicker than it currently is. So that is my comment on that. And thank you guys, and always enjoy listening to you. So you guys have a great holiday. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Strutt. Thank you.
Our next request for comment comes from Victor Tong. Victor, your line is unmuted and you will have 2 minutes.
Hello, everyone. I would like to echo Dr. Marcus Strutt's comment. And I definitely would like to see webinar or video conferencing replacing the old-fashioned live seminar in the COVID time. And even if the COVID is past, I think there's a lot of advantage to collateralize or capitalize this technology. But there is some concern I want to address to the board member, because I have been doing webinar for quite some time and most people love it, but we want to watch out for abuses. So I would like to see that there is some kind of a mandate from the board level, not like the individual CE provider to be the policeman. We would like to make sure that the attendees have the cameras on during the training session. People tend to be shy, yes, it is true, but there are also abuses. I have seen people driving while they are doing the Zoom meeting. I have seen people trying to treat their patient, while they are on the camera. And so those are not exactly what I call professional behavior. And I would like to maintain the professional integrity by having webinar on a long-term basis, but with those issues addressed. And so if people were to let the camera on and abstain from those distracting, those multitasking is interfering with their training. If we can put that under the control, I think it would be a perfect environment for continuing ed. And I'm not talking about getting up and get a drink of water. Those are permissible. Or getting
15 seconds.
Bathroom stop, that should be okay. But other than that, it should be a permanent replacement for the live seminar. I appreciate this opportunity for my comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is the moderator, and with that, that concludes our request for public comment. I will close the Q&A channel. Board Chair Paris, it's back to you now.
Okay, thank you. Can we move to agenda item number 9, future agenda items? And I'd just like to open that up to everybody. If anyone has any future agenda items, I do not.
Moderator, can we, it doesn't appear that any of the board members have suggestions for future agenda items. Can we open it up to the public in case the public wants to request something for a future agenda?
Absolutely. This is a moderator. I've again opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to make a public comment, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen. Type "I would like to make a comment" into the ask field and submit that to all panelists, and we will pause for a brief moment. Seeing no requests at this time, would you like me to close the Q&A panel?
Please.
Yes, thank you.
It is closed.
Okay, so before we go into closed session, is everybody okay? Let me know if there's anyone, staff or board members, has an objection to a quick 5-minute break in the interest of time, and then we'll come back and be in closed session. And moderator, my understanding is you'll move us over into that room.
Yes, I will. I will. We'll pause for a few moments for you to take your break. I will remove people that are not going to be in the closed session back down to the attendee panel. And then once everybody's back and we know everybody's checked in, I will pull everybody into the private room.
Okay, great. Thank you. Is there any...
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Dr. Paris.
Oh, I was just going to see if anybody had an objection to that, moving forward that way.
Mr. President, there is no objection, but can we take a little longer of a break so that we can grab some snacks or something? It's been a long morning. So maybe a 10 minutes or 15 minutes break.
Absolutely. I've gotten a request in the interest of time. Are you okay with 10, Mr.
Sure.
Fino?
Better than 5.
We negotiate. That's good. Okay. Thank you. Okay, let's take 10 minutes and we'll come back. And
Dr. Paris, I'm sorry to interrupt, but perhaps unless our legal counsel, Michael Knotes, objects, I think it would be a good idea to adjourn the public session, and then this way we don't have to keep that line open, and the board can go into closed session.
Okay. Do I need a motion?
Well, I'd like to ask Mr. Knotes if you could. Is there a problem with us doing that?
Good afternoon, Mr. Pulio and members. Mr. Chair, we will need to adjourn the meeting, but our agenda covers that in terms of we don't need to come back into open session to adjourn. We can just adjourn the meeting from the closed session. So the answer is yes, we can do that, but we will need to take up briefly item 10. We will actually go back into open session. It's just the way I misspoke. Our agenda covers that situation and indicates that may not be webcast or displayed to the public on the WebEx format. We will simply come into open session and close the meeting. However, that there will be no discussion for that item, and it will simply be adjourned.
So just a message to any participants on the line from the public. There's no need to hang on the line. There won't be any business conducted other than adjourning the meeting after closed session. So no need to wait around. Thank you.
Okay, great. If there's nothing else, let's take 10 and we'll come back to closed session.
Okay, it's 1:02.